Chapter 1137. When Ji Tianqing saw Long Yunxiao's face didn't look too good. He stood alone in the main hall with a gloomy expression and a touch of coldness between his brows. Ji Tianqing could guess his thoughts and knew the reason without asking. Because his mood was the same as Long Yunxiao. The two of them exchanged a few words, and after sitting down, Ji Tianqing asked directly, "Is the imperial court's decision the emperor's idea?" Long Yunxiao nodded and said expressionlessly, "Actually, this is not only the emperor's idea, but also the persuasion of the imperial tutor and the ministers. In any case, Long Zai-Tian is the emperor's son and the most outstanding among the princes. How can the emperor bear to directly kill him?" In the eyes of the emperor and the ministers, Long Zai-Tian is indeed an ambitious and ruthless person, but unfortunately, he took the wrong path. His temperament is a bit extreme, and he will do anything to achieve his goal. The emperor gave him a light sentence and hoped that after this incident, he would realize his mistakes and turn over a new leaf. When he spoke up to hear, he paused for a moment, and then a wisp of a bitter smile curled up on the corners of his mouth. He said, "The imperial preceptor told me that the imperial monarch and the imperial preceptor had a discussion in the study one night. At that time, the imperial tutor mentioned Long Zai-Tian and this emperor. The emperor said with emotion that to be the emperor of the human race, not only must he have the benevolence to help the world, he must also be resolute and firm. This emperor has more than enough benevolence in dealing with matters, but not enough firmness. I can only rule the world in peace and prosperity, and it is difficult to forge ahead. And Long Zai-Tian is too shrewd, too narrow-minded, and his methods are too sinister and ruthless. He can be an ambitious and ruthless person in troubled times, but in the end, he is not the emperor. This emperor and Long Zai-Tian are both the most outstanding princes, but the emperor is not too satisfied with us. According to the emperor's idea, it would be best if the two of us could combine our natures." Long Yunxiao's tone was a bit lonely and even a bit self-deprecating. Ji Tianqing could guess that it was probably because the monarch was comparing him and Long Zai-Tian's strengths and weaknesses, which made him somewhat unhappy in his heart. However, this was the celestial emperor's family matter. He had no right to interfere or comment. Most importantly, he had not reached the level and height of an imperial emperor, so he could not understand the mentality of an imperial emperor. After a moment of silence, he patted Long Yunxiao's shoulder and comforted him. "The monarch stands at the top of the continent and looks down on all living beings. His perspective and starting point are different from ours. It's not something you and I can understand. As the old saying goes, no one is perfect. Even a sage must be judged by his merits and demerits. You don't have to care too much about the celestial emperor's evaluation. Just stick to your heart and be yourself." In any case, Long Yunxiao's reputation has already been ruined. You are the biggest winner. In the future, the position of human emperor will definitely be yours. What else do you have to worry about? Long Yunxiao nodded slightly and said with a solemn expression, "Thank you. I already know what you've said. However, as long as Long Zai-Tian doesn't die, I won't be able to truly feel at ease." Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and asked with interest, "What are you going to do next?" Long Yunxiao said coldly, 2 days later, the imperial court's halberd guards will escort Long Zai-Tian out of central state and rush to the northern desert border. The emperor is not willing to execute his son, so he will give Long Zai-Tian a way out and let him go to the border to turn over a new leaf. However, I will definitely not let Long Zai-Tian go. I will definitely cut the weeds and eliminate the roots to prevent future troubles. From central state to the northern desert border, the journey is long and dangerous. I will definitely not let Long Zai-Tian reach the border alive." Ji Tianqing immediately understood his meaning and guessed his next plan. He nodded and said, "I have the same idea as you. Even if you don't do this, I will still do it." "No need." Long Zai-Tian waved his hand and said, "You have already helped me too much. I will send someone to do it. There is no need to trouble you. Long Zai-Tian is the emperor's son. If you assassinate him, it will inevitably cause disputes and even make the emperor unhappy. I am different, so I don't have those scruples." "Good. Ji Tianqing nodded in agreement and said in a serious tone, "Then I will leave this matter to you. However, you must do it secretly. Don't leave behind any evidence or future troubles." "Yes, I understand." Long Yunxiao nodded. After the two finished talking about Long Zai Tian, Ji Tianqing asked again, this time, Long Zai Tian's case involves a lot of people. Why did the imperial court only sentence Long Zai Tian and Yu Tianhong? What about the others? What about Murong family's Murongjeng? Long Yunxiao frowned slightly and said in a low voice, "Actually, the imperial court has another edict. However, it is a secret edict that is not made public. There is a list of names in the secret edict that involves more than 100 forces. Those forces that worked for Long Zai Tian and did evil deeds have all been punished. The imperial court has already dealt with them one by one. As for Murongjeng, the Duanmu family that the emperor relies on the most has already been destroyed by you. If the monarch were to punish the Murong family severely, causing the Murong family's power to plummet, then the Yun family would be the only one left among the three great ancient families. This is definitely not the result that the emperor wants to see. The demon race is a great enemy and chaos is coming. The emperor has to consider the overall situation of the human race. He can only turn big problems into small ones and small ones into nothing. Murongjeng was coerced by Long Zai Tian and did many evil deeds. However, in the emperor's eyes, those were not unforgivable crimes. Therefore, the imperial court gave the Murong family a light punishment. They only verbally reprimanded Murongjeng and confiscated many of the Murong family's properties and wealth. After this incident, the Murong family's power has weakened a lot. They will not cause any more trouble in the future. They can only hide their strength and bide their time. Ji Tianqing frowned and asked, "Did the emperor mention the 10,000 gu altar?" Long Yunxiao asked in a playful tone, "Why? Have you seen the power of the Gu Dao divine artifact? Are you afraid that the emperor will remember this treasure and confiscate it?" "That's not it." Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said seriously, "The 10,000 gu altar is an evil artifact after all. Now that it has fallen into my hands, I haven't thought of how to deal with it. If I use this artifact to release gu poison on others and control them to work for me, then what's the difference between me and Long Zai Tian? But other than that, this artifact has no other effects. It's not very useful to me. Moreover, Murongjeng, Yu Tianhong, and the leaders of dozens of powerful forces are still under the control of the gu poison. Since the imperial court knows about this matter, they will have to deal with it sooner or later. They can't be under the threat of the gu poison forever." Long Yunxiao nodded with a look of admiration and said, "Tianqing, it's great that you can think like this. I just wanted to remind you that the emperor did mention the 10,000 gu altar. The emperor said that it is an evil artifact and cannot be allowed to be passed down. Otherwise, it will bring disaster to the human world and cause greater harm. The emperor's intention was to deal with the myriad gu altar after this matter was over." Chapter 1138. Long Yunxiao chatted with Ji Tianqing for a while and then left. He still had to return to the imperial court to carry out his plan of eliminating the source of trouble. After he left, Ji Tianqing returned to his room and continued to meditate and cultivate. In the evening, the guard commander suddenly came to the door and reported to him. Reporting to the territorial lord, "Madam is back." The guard commander's tone was a little anxious and contained a trace of excitement. When Ji Tianqing heard this, he was immediately stunned. He frowned in confusion and asked, "Madam?" "What madam?" The guard commander was also stunned for a moment and quickly explained, "Of course it's your madam, my lord. It's Miss Yun." Ji Tianqing was suddenly enlightened. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry and said, "This is the first time I've heard you call her that. Just call her Miss Yun in the future." The guard commander quickly apologized and said, "I know my mistake. Please forgive me, my lord. Miss Yun came to see you as soon as she returned to the imperial residence. She's waiting for you in the study." "Okay, I know. You can leave." Ji Tianqing smiled and waved his hand to dismiss the guard commander. Then he got up and left the room, quickly rushing to the study. As soon as he entered the study, he saw a beautiful woman in a long white dress standing in the room. She had an ethereal air about her. After not seeing her for nearly 2 months, Yunyao's figure and appearance had returned to normal. She was even colder and more beautiful than before. Her temperament was also more holy and noble. She was really like a goddess. She was standing in front of the bookcase, holding a bunch of ancient scrolls with both hands. She was engrossed in reading. A hint of doubt appeared on her beautiful face. Ji Tianqing slowed down and walked towards her. He stared at her and sized her up. His eyes also became very gentle. Although he and Yunyao were already husband and wife and were very close, he was also used to Yunyao's stunning appearance. However, when he saw Yunyao again today, he was still captivated by her beauty and temperament. He still felt a sense of amazement. Without a doubt, Yunyao was even more beautiful than before. Her temperament was also more transcendent. Most importantly, her strength had also increased tremendously. She had reached the half-soul refinement realm, and her entire body was filled with the aura of an expert. Yao Yao, when did you come back? Why didn't you say hello in advance? Ji Tianqing came to her side and asked with a smile. Yin Yao was awakened by him. She quickly put down the ancient scroll in her hand and turned to look at him. Tianqing. Her eyes were filled with gentleness. She opened her arms and hugged Ji Tianqing tightly, leaning into his embrace. Ji Tianqing held her in his arms and wrapped his arms around her slender waist. He rubbed his cheek against her forehead and long hair, revealing a satisfied smile. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. The two of them had been separated for nearly 2 months, and their hearts were filled with longing. Now that they were meeting again, he was naturally in a happy mood and couldn't help but want to be intimate with her. After a long time, the two of them calmed down. Ji Tianqing let go of Yunyao in his arms. The two of them sat down and chatted as they drank tea. Yao Yao, you've benefited from a disaster. Your strength has reached the half-soul refinement realm. I believe that with your talent, you'll be able to break through to the soul refinement realm soon. Ji Tianqing held Yunyao's hand and said with a serious expression, God teacher, hey, you came to find me before and talk to me about something. Any Thearka's son who has reached the soul refinement realm is already a transcendent expert and is not suitable to continue being a Thearka's son. According to the rules of the imperial residence, Thearchs who break through to the soul refinement realm only have 2 choices. They can stay in the imperial residence and continue to cultivate. In the future, they can become the god teacher of the imperial residence and teach the other Thearchs. Or they can leave the imperial residence to fulfill their ambitions and build their own forces. Some become the region lords and generals of various races, some become powerful people, and some form powerful sects. However, most Thearchs will choose to leave. Very few will stay in the imperial residence to be a god teacher. Yunyao listened attentively. After he finished, she nodded and said, this is the rule of the imperial residence. I've heard about it long ago. You've reached the soul refinement realm long ago, and I'll be able to break through to the soul refinement realm soon. We indeed have to consider our future. Tianqing, what do you plan to do? Ji Tianqing said without hesitation, of course, I won't stay in the imperial residence to be a god teacher. That's too boring. I'm the region lord of the imperial court. Of course, I have to leave the imperial residence to serve the imperial court and bring peace to this region. Moreover, the devil race is a great enemy. We still have too many things to do. Of course, we can't stay in the imperial residence and waste our time. Yunyao nodded in agreement and said in a serious tone, Tianqing, I think so too. You can give God teacher He Yu an answer now. After I break through to the soul refinement realm, the two of us will leave the imperial residence together. All right. Ji Tianqing nodded and said with a smile, I'll send the guards to the Black Feather Palace later and report this decision to God teacher He Yu. Yunyao nodded slightly and said in a low voice, Tianqing, I was in seclusion in the Cloud Soul Palace before. During that time, my soul gradually recovered and I remembered many things. Ji Tianqing asked in confusion, what things? Aren't the memories of your soul complete? Yunyao shook her head gently and explained, it's not the memories of my soul. It's the memories of half a year in the devil race. Back then, my body was controlled by the devil's soul. My soul slept in the Neptunian god orb. But it was only recently that I began to recall my experiences in the demon race. Hearing her say that, Ji Tianqing's interest was piqued. He asked in anticipation, oh? Have you discovered the secret of the devil race? Or is it the demon emperor's scheme? Yunyao nodded and said sternly, during the months I was in the demon emperor's base, I discovered something extremely strange. I couldn't understand it no matter how much I thought about it. However, I could vaguely sense that it was definitely unusual. It definitely had something to do with the demon emperor's scheme. As a result, I returned to the monarch's residence as quickly as possible to discuss this matter with you. Ji Tianqing realized the severity of the matter. He listened carefully and stared at her. Yunyao frowned slightly. After a moment of silence, she said seriously, during those months, I stayed on the devil race's sacred mountain the entire time. I couldn't leave. Every month, on the night of the full moon, he would hear vague, weird, and strange demonic sounds coming from the blood river at the foot of the mountain. The sound was like the whispers and murmurs of ghosts, but also like the splashing of the river of blood. It was extremely strange and unique. Normally, the river of blood would be extremely calm. However, every full moon night, when the mysterious demonic sound appeared, the river of blood would become restless. It would roar and surge with a bloody aura. Furthermore, after I noticed this strange situation, I observed it carefully a few times. I once saw with my own eyes, a mysterious black shadow flashed in the surging blood river. Chapter 1139. Ji Tianqing frowned when he heard what Yunyao said. The blood river at the foot of the holy mountain is indeed a little strange. It is said that the blood river has existed since the heavenly devil palace was founded. It has flowed for millions of years without drying up. For some reason, the demon race called the blood river the holy river. Based on what you said just now, I'm afraid that the blood river is not simple. There must be some shocking secret hidden in it. Yunyao nodded and said with a serious expression, I think so too. Also, I carefully recalled those demonic sounds. They are all very ancient demon race language. I have been looking up information during this period, trying to figure out the meaning of those demonic sounds. Unfortunately, I searched the entire Cloud Soul Palace's library and didn't find any clues. Hearing her words, Ji Tianqing came to a sudden realization and asked, Yao Yao, when I entered the study just now, I saw you flipping through ancient books, engrossed in them. Could it be that you were looking for clues? Yunyao nodded. Ji Tianqing thought for a moment and asked, Yao Yao, there is a curse in the demon race's bloodline. It will erupt on the night of the full moon every month, causing the demon race to mutate and suffer all kinds of pain. Do you think that the changes in the blood river and the demonic sounds you heard have something to do with the bloodline curse? Yunyao said with certainty, I suspected this possibility before, but after careful analysis, it should have nothing to do with the bloodline curse. After all, I had already removed the bloodline curse for the demon race. That's right, I remember that the demon king once brought me, in my demonized state, to the heavenly devil palace to pay respects to an ancient statue. That statue was a giant demon with a very strange appearance. It actually had 3 heads, 9 arms and legs, and a pair of black and white wings on its back. The ancient demon king was very respectful to that statue and even said some strange things at that time. There was also a strange sound coming from that statue, just like the demonic sounds I heard from the blood river. She paused for a moment before continuing in a solemn tone, therefore, I suspect that the changes in the river of blood and that demonic sound are definitely related to the demon king's scheme. Demon Emperor's plot. Ji Tianqing muttered with a frown. Over the past year, the Devil Emperor has been keeping a low profile. He has barely shown himself. Even when I broke into the demon race's sacred mountain and the Saintess Palace, I didn't see him. Could it be that he's brewing some huge conspiracy? But what was he trying to do? What secrets does the river of blood hide? Both of them fell into silence. They frowned as they pondered and analyzed, but they didn't have the slightest clue. At this moment, a black figure suddenly flew out of Ji Tianqing's spatial ring. Shwa! It was the figure of a tall middle-aged man. He was nearly 2 meters tall and had a tall and straight figure. He wore a strange black robe. His body was not tall and sturdy, but he exuded an incomparably majestic aura that could shake the heavens and earth. It was a godlike aura that could make everything in the world tremble and worship him. His sudden appearance in the study caused the air in the study to freeze. It was filled with an indescribable aura of divine power. Ji Tianqing and Yunyao were stunned. They raised their heads and looked at him at the same time. The wide and special black robe covered his body and face. The two of them couldn't see his appearance clearly. His body was between illusion and reality. It was very clear and real, but it didn't really exist. However, Ji Tianqing was no stranger to his aura. He immediately reacted and asked, "Burial of heaven? Is this your divine soul doppelganger? Have you recovered your strength?" The black-robed figure nodded slightly and said in a low and majestic voice, "Yes, I have recovered nearly 40% of my strength. My strength is even greater than before. Just now, when I heard you talking about the river of blood and Moyin, it reminded me of some ancient legends. That's why I couldn't help but reveal my divine soul doppelganger." Hearing him say this, Ji Tianqing and Yunyao were stunned for a moment. Then, they revealed expressions of pleasant surprise. "Burial of heaven, do you know the secret of the river of blood? What ancient legend? Do you know the changes in the river of blood and the origin of the Moyin?" Burial of heaven nodded slightly and said in a low and deep voice, "Recently, my strength has been constantly recovering. The fragmented memories of the past have also gradually emerged. I don't know why, but there are many stories and legends from ancient times in my memory. Legend has it that in ancient times, the demon clan worshipped the ancestor demon god. They regarded him as their father and spiritual leader. The ancestor demon god ruled the demon clan and conquered the world. He was always successful. He enslaved all the clans in the world and almost ruled the entire continent. Therefore, the demon clan worshipped the ancestor demon god crazily. Even after thousands of years, the demon clan still regards him as their eternal leader." Ji Tianqing and Yunyao listened attentively. After he finished speaking, Ji Tianqing asked doubtfully, "Burial of heaven, I have also heard of this legend that you mentioned. But what does this have to do with the mystery of the river of blood?" Burial of heaven explained, "The demon clan's sacred mountain and heavenly devil palace were both built by the ancestor demon god. It is the holy land of the demon clan. However, in my ancient memories, when the sacred mountain and heavenly devil palace were built, there was no river of blood. After the great war of the gods in ancient times, the ancestor demon god fought with the gods of various clans. In the end, he mysteriously disappeared without a trace. From then on, the river of blood seemed to have appeared under the sacred mountain. Therefore, I deduced that the changes in the river of blood and the Moyin that Yunyao heard might be related to the ancestor demon god." Ji Tianqing and Yunyao immediately revealed a look of disbelief. They looked at each other in surprise. "Burial of heaven, do you mean that the Moyin in the river of blood was emitted by the ancestor demon god? The black shadow I saw in the river of blood and the mysterious statue worshipped by the demon emperor, could it be the ancestor demon god?" "Statue?" Burial of heaven was startled for a moment. He asked in a solemn tone, "That statue, is it tall and majestic in appearance, with 3 heads and 9 arms, and a pair of black and white wings?" Yinyao's eyes flashed with a bright light. She quickly nodded and said, "That's right. It's just as you said." Burial of heaven nodded and said in a solemn tone, "Then it's right. The legendary ancestor demon god looked exactly like that." The ancestor demon god was also called the death god by the experts of various clans in ancient times. It was an ominous sign, a synonym for death and slaughter. No matter where it appeared, it would bring a terrible disaster to all the living beings in the world. In ancient myths and legends, the death god was the most powerful existence among the gods. It controlled the power of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. It had the power to destroy the heavens, the earth, and the stars. Its 3 heads represented the 3 major calamities, the apocalyptic calamity, the great solar fire, and the black solar storm. Its 9 arms represented the 9 major calamities: war, plague, famine, massacre, lightning tribulation, inner demons, chaos, and so on. Its black and white wings represented death and reincarnation. Chapter 1140. Even the gods are afraid of it. The ancestor devil god is actually so powerful? Ji Tianqing and Yunyao were both shocked and in disbelief. Burial of Heaven nodded slightly and said in a solemn and low voice, "If not for this, the demon race of the ancient times would not have been able to dominate the world and enslave all the races." The war of the gods and the disappearance of the gods were all related to the ancestor devil god. Previously, when Tianqing sneaked into the demon race's sacred mountain, we did not see the changes in the blood river nor did we hear the demonic sound. However, I secretly observed the sacred mountain and the blood river and found that the blood river was very strange. It complemented the sacred mountain and formed a strange pattern. That pattern was very evil and powerful, and it gave me a sense of déjà vu. At this point, Burial of Heaven paused and said in a solemn voice, "At that time, I had not recovered much of my memory and only felt puzzled. I did not know what was going on. Now that I think about it, the strange pattern formed by the blood river around the ice mountain seems to be the 9 deaths blood river great array created by the ancestor devil god. It has the heaven-defying effect of reincarnation and rebirth." Yinyao showed a worried expression and asked doubtfully, "Burial of Heaven, do you mean the changes in the blood river, the demonic sound and the mysterious shadow are all part of the demon emperor's scheme? Does the demon emperor want to revive the ancestor devil god?" Burial of Heaven nodded and said in a low voice, "That's right. That's the only possibility. Otherwise, the demon emperor would not hide in the sacred mountain and not show himself for an entire year." Ji Tianqing frowned and said worriedly, "If that's the case, then things are troublesome. The ancestor devil god is known as the death god and controls the power of the 3 calamities and 9 disasters. Once it is revived by the demon emperor, it will bring disaster to the entire continent. At that time, the entire Tianxian continent will be bathed in blood and all the races will be enslaved by the demon race again. After all, the death god is so powerful that even the gods fear him. In today's world, who can resist the death god?" Burial of Heaven was silent for a while before shaking his head and said, "What I said just now was only my guess. There are still many doubtful points that require careful consideration. The ancestral demon god was a divine being and should not exist in this world, much less appear on this continent. After the war of the gods in ancient times, it disappeared along with the gods. No one knew if it had fallen or if it had left this continent. If the demon emperor wanted to revive it, it would mean that it had indeed died. But that's not right. After the death of a god, their body and soul would be destroyed, and they would disappear forever. Otherwise, it would have been sealed in the Shenwu continent. How could it appear on the profound sky continent?" Ji Tianqing and Yunyao were stunned when they heard that. They looked at the Burial of Heaven in confusion. Shenwu continent? What is that place? Why have we never heard of the Shenwu continent? Could there be other continents in this world? Burial of Heaven nodded slightly and explained in a serious tone, "The vastness of this world is far beyond your imagination. In this world, of course, there was more than one Tianxian land. There were a few other continents. The Shenwu continent was the vastest, most mysterious, and most ancient of the continents. It was only there that one could reach the legendary deity realm of the martial path, and one could even see a powerhouse in the martial god realm. It was a continent ruled by a martial god, and many of the fallen gods were buried in that continent. Some were buried in the long river of history, becoming legends for all eternity. Others lay dormant in the vast continent for a long time, searching for an opportunity in the world to be reborn." Ji Tianqing and Yunyao widened their eyes in shock. Neither of them dared to believe that this was true. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. The profound sky continent is already vast and boundless enough. I never thought that there would be other continents in this world. Why have we never heard of this before? Even those primordial spirit supremes do not seem to know of the existence of other continents. Burial of Heaven spoke in a low and deep voice. Cultivating the martial path is actually a process for warriors to strengthen themselves and explore the mysteries of heaven, earth, and the starry sky. No matter what realm a warrior's strength reaches, they will find that their understanding of heaven, earth, and the starry sky is very shallow. With your current strength, it is impossible for you to leave this continent. Even those primordial spirit supremes are unable to do so, so of course you do not know of the existence of other continents. This is because the 5 continents in this world have been sealed by the gods, and they are isolated from each other and are not connected to each other. When he heard this, Ji Tianqing suddenly thought of something, and many guesses appeared in his mind. He subconsciously asked, Burial of Heaven, 1,000 years ago, Kenshin reached the peak of the profound sky continent and created countless legends. However, in a few short decades, he disappeared without a trace. Legend has it that he left this continent. Could he have gone to the Shenwu continent? Burial of Heaven nodded and said in a low voice, Of course. The Shenwu continent is the most vast and prosperous continent in the world. The martial path has been multiplied to the extreme, and one can reach the deity realm. It is only on that continent that one has the possibility of becoming a god. It is not just Kenshin. Since ancient times, countless top powerhouses have tried to find ways to go to the Shenwu continent in order to reach the deity realm. When he heard this, Ji Tianqing subconsciously thought of the Eastern Mountain Sovereign. He finally understood that the Eastern Mountain Sovereign had definitely gone to the Shenwu continent. At this time, Yinyao frowned and asked doubtfully, Burial of Heaven, didn't you just say that the 5 continents have been sealed by the gods and are not connected to each other? Then how did Kenshin go to the Shenwu continent? Also, since ancient times, how did the powerhouses of the martial path leave the profound sky continent? Burial of Heaven calmly explained, even the gods are not omnipotent. Although the continents have been sealed by the gods, after a long period of time, the seals on each continent have loosened, and some cracks and loopholes have appeared. Martial artists who are unwilling to be mediocre want to leave their continents and explore the wider world. They want to discover the mysteries of the universe, and they will do so at all costs. Thus, countless powerhouses have paid the price of their lives to find some very hidden, but also very dangerous passages that can lead to the Shenwu continent. At this point, he looked deeply at Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao and warned them in a solemn tone, With your current strength, it is impossible for you two to find the passage. Even if you do find it, you two will not be able to pass through and will only lose your lives. Yin Yao's eyes dimmed, and she fell silent and did not say anything else. Ji Tianqing waved his hand and smiled bitterly. What passage? What Shenwu continent? They are too far away for us. That is a completely foreign continent, and we will not even think of going there. Let's think about how we're going to deal with the Demon Emperor's scheme. Chapter 1141. Burial of Heaven could only confirm that the changes in the Blood River, the mysterious demonic sound, and the statue worshipped by the Demon Emperor were all related to the ancestor demon god. However, no one knew what the Demon Emperor was plotting. If the ancestor demon god had fallen in the ancient times, how could it appear in the Tianxian continent now? If the Demon Emperor wanted to revive the ancestor demon god, what methods would he use? Everything was a mystery and unfathomable. However, one thing was for sure. If the ancestor demon god was really revived, the end of the Tianxian continent would come. This was an outcome no one wanted to see, but no one could stop it. Burial of Heaven returned to the broken sword, and the study became quiet. Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao looked at each other with a serious expression. After a while, Yun Yao said to him, Tianqing, we must take precautions and prepare for this as soon as possible. However, with our strength, we can't return to the demon race's sacred mountain to investigate the truth. Therefore, we should report this to the monarch residents and let them make the decision. Ji Tianqing nodded and said, yes, not only the monarch residents, but also the human race, demon race, and water race imperial court should know about this and take precautions and prepare in advance. Leave this to me, I will tell them the news. Yin Yao nodded slightly and said, all right, then you must think of how to explain it to everyone so that they will believe and take it seriously. I came here as soon as I returned to the monarch residence. I have to go back to the cave to check on the situation." After that, she bid farewell and left the Sky Air Palace, heading towards the Cloud Jade Palace. Ji Tianqing sat alone in the study and thought for a long time before he came up with an excuse. Then, he took out 3 jade slips and entered information into the jade slips, recording that the demon emperor might revive the ancestor demon god. He sent the 3 encrypted jade slips to Long Yunxiao, Tai Yi, and Ji Ku. Long Yunxiao and Tai Yi were both princes. After they received the news, they would definitely report it to the human race's monarch and the water race's golden dragon emperor. Ji Ku was the princess of the demon race. Once she received the news, she would definitely report it to the demon empress and demon emperor. After sending out the communication jade slip, Ji Tianqing was about to leave Tianqing Palace to find divine teacher Black Feather. However, just as he reached the main entrance of Tianqing Palace, he saw 2 guards from the imperial residence arriving at the main entrance at the speed of light. Shwa! 2 guards landed outside the gate and walked towards him respectfully. "Greetings, Prince Tianqing. Prince Tianheng, we're here on orders." "Please come with us," said Yi Futian. The 2 guards looked solemn, and their tone was also very solemn. Ji Tianqing frowned slightly and asked, "Whose orders are you serving? Where are you taking me?" The 2 guards revealed a look of reverence and said in a low voice, "We are under the orders of the Imperial Palace." Imperial Palace. Ji Tianqing's pupils shrank, and his face was filled with disbelief. "The mansion master wants to see me?" He was filled with doubts, but he did not ask any more questions. He followed the 2 guards into the sky and rushed towards the depths of the imperial residence at lightning speed. The imperial palace was located in the deepest part of the imperial residence. It was a sacred and forbidden area in the imperial residence. That ancient and sacred palace was where the mansion masters of the past lived. Even the god teachers of the imperial residence could not get close to the imperial palace without the mansion master's summons. Ji Tianqing had been to the imperial palace once, and it was there that he met the mansion master for the first time. Although he had only met the mansion master for a short time. But during that meeting, the mansion master told him about the sword god's followers. Thinking of this, he could not help but wonder if the mansion master had summoned him today to tell him another secret. An hour later, the 3 of them flew to the deepest part of the imperial residence and landed on a giant peak that was 10,000 meters tall. The ancient palace at the top of the giant peak was the imperial palace. 2 guards stood guard at the bottom of the steps outside the gate. Ji Tianqing walked up the steps alone and walked towards the gate of the palace. The 30-meter-tall bronze gate was left ajar. He reached out with both hands to hold the bronze door knocker, and pushed the gate open. The hazy light outside the palace shone through the gate into the spacious palace. Ji Tianqing stepped through the gate with a serious expression and entered the palace. When he entered the main hall, the door behind him closed automatically with a bang. At the same time, hundreds of gemstone lamps lit up on the walls of the hall, emitting colorful brilliance. Ji Tianqing subconsciously raised his head and looked to the north. He saw the spacious, luxurious, and extremely honorable throne. To the left of the throne was a dark golden statue of a dragon man, and to the right of the throne was a statue of a harpy. On the spacious throne sat a burly middle-aged man in a purple robe. He was close to 2 meters tall, and his long, snow-white hair was tied up with a dark golden dragon rope, revealing a carefree and unruly aura. He had a dark golden cloak draped over his shoulders, and his deep, dark eyes shone with wisdom and vicissitudes of life. Ji Tianqing strode across the palace and came to the throne. He bowed to the white-haired man and said respectfully, "Greetings, Mansion Master." The white-haired man was the Mansion Master. He nodded slightly and said in a deep voice, "You may rise." "Thank you, Mansion Master," Ji Tianqing replied. He straightened his body and looked at the Mansion Master calmly. "May I know why you summoned me here, Mansion Master?" The Mansion Master looked at him deeply and sized him up before saying in a deep voice, "I haven't seen you for a year, and you've already broken through to the soul refinement realm. Moreover, your strength has increased tenfold. I'm very pleased. Ji Tianqing nodded and explained, in the past year, in order to rescue Yun Yao, the emperor's son has been running around the mainland. During this period, he has experienced many dangers and hardships. Difficulties make people work hard. The emperor's son also had some opportunities and adventures, which allowed him to break through smoothly and increase his strength rapidly. The mansion master nodded slightly and said in a gratified tone, "Very good. You're indeed the successor of Kenshin. You didn't disappoint me. Since you've already entered the demon emperor's lair and rescued Yun Yao, what did you find and gain from your trip to the northern desert?" Ji Tianqing thought for a moment and answered truthfully, "Mansion master, the emperor's son did find something. Today, I have two things to report to you. First, the emperor's son found Ren Huangyi in the Mangum mountain range on his way back from the northern desert. According to the instructions you gave me, Ren Huangyi is one of the followers of Kenshin. Unfortunately, when I invited Ren Huangyi to come out and help me, he politely refused. He said that he was still waiting for someone." The mansion master's expression did not change. He said calmly, "It's normal for Ren Huangyi to refuse. You don't have to take it to heart. When the time is right, he will naturally come out and help you." Ji Tianqing nodded and continued, "Second, when the emperor's son and Yun Yao were in the demon emperor's lair, they found some clues. After repeated consideration and speculation, we can confirm that the demon emperor is carrying out an earth-shattering conspiracy." Chapter 1142. The ancient demon emperor wants to revive the ancestor demon god? The palace master frowned, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. What exactly happened? Tell me. Ji Tianqing cupped his hands and bowed. Then, he told the mansion master everything that had happened. Yun Yao was transformed into the blood god by the demon emperor and imprisoned in the demon race's sacred mountain for 10 months. During that time, Yun Yao would find the blood river at the foot of the sacred mountain churning on every full moon night. Mysterious demonic sounds could be heard from it, and mysterious black shadows flashed by. Not only that, but the demon emperor also brought Yun Yao to visit a mysterious statue. The statue had 3 heads, 9 arms, and a pair of black and white wings. It was the image of the legendary ancestor demon god. Therefore, we dare to conclude that the demon emperor is most likely carrying out a plan to revive the ancestor demon god. After hearing his story, the palace master frowned and pondered for a while before nodding. I see. It is indeed the same as my speculation. The sacred mountain and the blood river, the demon emperor's lair, hide too many secrets. Ji Tianqing stood quietly, waiting for the palace master's decision. He thought that the palace master would take this matter seriously and make a corresponding decision. However, he did not expect the palace master to say calmly, "You don't have to worry about this for now. I summoned you here today to tell you something very important. Soon, I will leave the middle state and will only be back in a year at the earliest. During this time, I have a task for you." Hearing his words, Ji Tianqing immediately frowned and asked with a face full of doubt and worry, "Master, the demon emperor is carrying out an earth-shattering scheme. Once his scheme succeeds and the ancestor demon god is awakened, it will bring an earth-shattering disaster to the Tianxian continent. At this critical juncture, shouldn't the imperial residents unite the powerhouses of the 3 races to stop the demon emperor's scheme? Don't tell me, you want to watch the demon race take over the world and enslave all the races?" Although his tone was agitated, the palace master was not angry. He listened to him expressionlessly and said in a serious tone, "Tianqing, you don't have to worry about this. The primogenitor devil god was an ancient god spirit. He had disappeared during the Great War of the Gods and his whereabouts were unknown. No one knows if the ancestor demon god left this continent or has completely fallen. It is only an illusory legend. Even if it is a god, it can preserve a remnant soul after its fall. But thousands of years has passed, how much power does it have left? The demon emperor wants to revive the ancestor demon god? The ancestor demon god's soul is god demon god's true body will take thousands of years." The potentate paused at this point. He stared at Ji Tianqing solemnly and asked, 1,000 years isn't enough time for all the races to work together and destroy the demon race? Furthermore, what this sovereign is about to do is related to the fate of the entire continent. It is of utmost importance. Ji Tianqing was immediately speechless. He was unable to persuade the palace master any further. He knew very well that the palace master was the greatest expert on the continent. His status and level were just too high, so he viewed things from a different perspective. Since the palace master told him not to worry and that he had something to do that would affect the fate of the continent, what reason did he have to stop him? After a moment of silence, he could only clasp his hands and bow. He said, "May I ask what mission the palace master has? Please tell me." The palace master stared at him with shining eyes and said gruffly, "You are the emperor that I value the most, as well as the successor of Kenshin. You have already reached the soul refinement realm, surpassing the limits of mortals. As a result, it's time for me to tell you some things and secrets. After Yunyao was saved by you, her body was still possessed by a demonic soul, and she was constantly demonized. It was Yunyao who begged me to save her, which was why Yunyao was freed. Yunyao has a Neptunian god pearl within her. That is the legendary goddess Yaoguang's remnant soul. It is a god artifact. The origin of this Neptunian god pearl is closely related to Kenshin. I unsealed the Neptunian god pearl and used its power to purify Yunyao's demonic soul, which allowed her soul to awaken. It was a blessing in disguise, and her strength increased tenfold." Ji Tianqing's body shuddered when he heard that. A look of, as expected, flashed through his eyes. He thought to himself, as I expected, the person who saved Yao Yao really was the palace master. The Neptunian god pearl within Yao Yao really is related to goddess Yaoguang. He had guessed these 2 points a very long time ago, but he had never been able to verify them. However, he had never thought that the palace master would tell him the truth personally today. He immediately realized that it was very likely for the mission the palace master had given him to be related to Yunyao. As expected, the palace master continued sternly, "It's just a pity that when I used the Neptunian god pearl to save Yunyao, I discovered that the power within the Neptunian god pearl was not goddess Yaoguang's remnant soul. Instead, it was one of her 7 fragments. Due to some unspeakable reason, I needed to gather all of goddess Yaoguang's 7 fragments and awaken her." When he reached there, Ji Tianqing interrupted him in a hurry. He asked, "Palace master, is Yunyao really the reincarnation of goddess Yaoguang? I've had this question in my mind for a very long time. Please answer me." The palace master stared at him deeply. After a moment of silence, he nodded, Sort of. Sort of?" Ji Tianqing frowned. He was rather doubtful. "Palace master, may I ask why you gathered all of goddess Yaoguang's 7 fragments and revived her?" The palace master glanced at him and said with an indifferent expression, "I naturally have my reasons for doing this. Right now, you don't have the right to know this." Although he did not say it, Ji Tianqing could vaguely guess. He asked probingly, "Could it be related to the fate of the profound sky continent?" The palace master only stared at him emotionlessly. He did not admit or deny it. A while later, he said sternly, "The Neptunian god pearl in Yunyao's body is only goddess Yaoguang's 7th fragment. There should be 6 other Neptunian god pearls in this world. They should be formed from the other 6 fragments. Ji Tianqing, the mission I'm giving you is to find the other 6 Neptunian god pearls. Only you and I know this secret. Even Yunyao doesn't know. You're Yunyao's husband. You're the person she trusts the most. Moreover, when you approach the Neptunian god pearl, your soul will sense it. As a result, you're the most suitable person for this mission." Ji Tianqing nodded. He said sternly, "Palace master, I understand what you're saying. I'm willing to accept this mission." Chapter 1143. Ji Tianqing knew very well that the patriarch had high hopes for him by telling him the secret of the Yaoguang goddess and the Neptunian divine pearl. However, searching for the Neptunian divine pearl aimlessly was just too difficult. It was an impossible mission. The patriarch said sternly, "Ji Tianqing, no matter how difficult this mission is, you must complete it. Yunyao has only fused with the 7th fragment of the goddess. Although her cultivation has skyrocketed, she only has 5 years left to live. After 5 years, if she can't find another fragment to continue her life, the power of the fragment will be unbalanced, resulting in the destruction of her body and soul. Ji Tianqing felt like he had been struck by lightning when he heard this. He asked in disbelief, "How can this be? Isn't Yao Yao already fine? Why did this happen? Why is she always plagued by misfortune and misfortune?" The patriarch looked at him coldly and said in a deep voice, "If she was just an ordinary person, she would naturally be able to die of old age and live a peaceful life. But she isn't. Her fate is destined to be extraordinary. How can it be so easy for her to become a martial arts expert and awaken as an ancient goddess?" Ji Tianqing had nothing to say in response. He could only remain silent. He could not deny that the truth was as the patriarch had said. How could it be so easy to inherit the legacy of an ancient goddess? Just like himself, he had to go through countless dangers and tribulations in order to inherit Kenshin's legacy. At this moment, the patriarch continued, "Ji Tianqing, only you and I know about the Neptunian Divine Pearl. I will search for the Neptunian Divine Pearl with you. As for why I want to revive the Yaoguan goddess, you will understand in the future." Ji Tianqing felt much more at ease when he heard that. He nodded, "Patriarch, I understand. Please give me your orders." The patriarch said seriously, "The Neptunian Divine Pearl is a divine item, so it obviously won't appear in ordinary places. I've already searched the profound sky continent many times, but I've found nothing. There are only 2 forbidden grounds that I haven't had the time to investigate. I'm about to leave the profound sky continent, so I need you to complete this matter." The 2 forbidden areas were the God-Falling Cliff and the Sun and Moon Furnace. They were both extremely dangerous places in the world. I have information about the 2 forbidden areas here. You have to look through it carefully and figure it out. When you have the corresponding confidence, you can go and investigate. Then, a golden light lit up in his palm, and a jade slip appeared. He waved his hand and sent the jade slip to Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing took the jade slip and frowned slightly as he thought to himself, "Sun-Moon Furnace? Could it be the Sun-Moon Furnace that I used to forge my broken sword in the Eastern Sea's sinkhole?" Just as he was deep in thought, the palace master said in a low voice, "After I leave, you must cultivate diligently and quickly improve your strength so that you can complete the mission as soon as possible. With your current strength, it's not enough for you to enter those 2 forbidden areas. Come with me, I'll take you to a place." With that said, the manor lord stood up and left the main hall, entering the depths of the imperial palace through a secret door in the corner of the hall. Ji Tianqing followed closely behind him. After walking along the dark passage for a quarter of an hour, they finally entered a dimly lit secret room. When he stepped through the door of the secret room, he only felt that he had passed through a layer of invisible bubbles, and his entire body was slightly distorted. The secret room was filled with an invisible mysterious power that made him feel strange and awkward. The palace master stopped and waved his hand to shoot out a golden dazzling light. Instantly, a dozen gemstone lamps lit up on the walls of the secret room. The colorful light illuminated the entire secret room. Ji Tianqing finally saw the appearance of the secret room clearly. It was only 100 feet in radius, and the furnishings were very simple. The surrounding walls and the floor beneath his feet were paved with unknown black stone slabs. Ancient and mysterious patterns were engraved on them, emitting invisible energy waves. In the entire secret room, there was only a futon made of dark gold spiritual jade in the middle. Other than that, there was nothing else. The palace master turned to look at him and said solemnly, "I'll be leaving in a few days. You can rest assured and cultivate in seclusion here. This secret room is the core of the imperial palace. It has been left behind since ancient times, and it's also a treasured place for the past palace masters to cultivate in seclusion. The time here is different from the outside world. The flow of time here is 10 times faster than the outside world. If you cultivate here for 10 days, only 1 day will pass in the outside world. However, this secret room can only allow you to cultivate in seclusion for 100 days. The power will be exhausted after that, and it will take several years for it to recover. Ji Tianqing suddenly revealed a look of surprise and said in disbelief, "Then if I cultivate in seclusion here for 100 days, only 10 days will pass in the outside world? This secret room actually has such a magical effect? It can actually change the flow of time?" The palace master nodded and gave him a few more instructions before he turned and left the secret room. Following a muffled bang, the secret room's stone door closed. The secret room quieted down, leaving only Ji Tianqing alone. He stood in the secret room in a daze and looked around in disbelief, looking at the array patterns on the walls and floor. Without a doubt, it was these ancient array patterns that were suffused with a grayish-white color that caused the flow of time in the secret room to be different from the outside world. He stared at the crisscrossing and twisting array patterns and carefully observed them for a while. Suddenly, his body shook, and his eyes shone with a bright light. These strange array patterns, where have I seen them before? He was a little confused and frowned in confusion, racking his brain to recall. He was very sure that this was his first time in the Imperial Palace's secret room, and also his first time seeing the array in the secret room. But for some reason, these array patterns gave him a sense of déjà vu, and even a little familiar. He pondered for a while before he suddenly remembered. I remember now. It's Kenshin's tomb. Thinking of this, he quickly sat cross-legged on the futon made of spiritual jade, and his spirit entered Kenshin's tomb. Swoosh! The golden spirit sword turned into a translucent little golden person that looked exactly like him. His spirit flew across the cold and gloomy wasteland and quickly reached the edge, entering the empty area in the gray fog. In the empty area of more than 10 miles, the grayish-white ground was engraved with mysterious array patterns. Ji Tianqing carefully observed and compared them before he confirmed his guess. That's right. The mysterious array pattern in Kenshin's tomb is very similar to the mysterious array in the palace master's secret room. This discovery made him excited, and he immediately fell into deep thought. The mysterious array in the palace master's secret room can change the flow of time. The array pattern in Kenshin's tomb is very similar to that array. Could it also have the effect of changing time? After careful comparison, the array pattern in Kenshin's tomb seemed to be of a higher level and countless times more profound than the array in the palace master's secret room. Chapter 1144. Ji Tianqing spent half a day carefully studying the array in the mansion master's secret chamber and the mysterious array diagram in Kenshin's tomb. After comparison, he came to a conclusion. Although the two were very similar, the difference in grade was countless times. If the array in the mansion master's secret chamber was at the primordial spirit realm, the mysterious array diagram in Kenshin's tomb was at least at the martial god realm, or even a true god realm array diagram. Of course, this was just an example. He believed that the actual grade of the two arrays was several levels higher than this. At least, with his current strength and attainments in array formations, he could not understand these two arrays at all. After half a day, he could only helplessly give up on his research. He had already made up his mind that if he had the chance in the future, he would definitely ask the mansion master about the secrets of the secret chamber's array formations. After collecting his thoughts, his soul left Kenshin's tomb and returned to the mind of his main body. He began to focus on cultivating in seclusion, consuming large amounts of spirit stones, pills, and cultivation resources to improve his strength. He cultivated the first level of the sword's soul path over and over again, accumulating a vast amount of magic power to condense the sword's soul and soul magic sword. Unknowingly, more than 2 months had passed. He cultivated in seclusion in the secret chamber for 80 days. His magic power had finally accumulated to the maximum, and his soul power had also reached the peak of the second level of the soul refinement realm. He finally condensed the third soul magic sword, and his strength naturally broke through to the third level of the soul refinement realm. Swoosh! When he successfully reached the third level of the soul refinement realm, his body lit up with a dazzling white light. 3 half-meter-long white soul magic swords floated behind his back. They glowed with a hazy light and released a powerful soul magic power. Every soul magic sword was imbued with an unstoppable power that could destroy anything in its path. When the three soul magic swords were released together, they had the power to summon the wind and rain, and destroy mountains and rivers. It was absolutely terrifying. Ji Tianqing could also clearly feel that his combat strength had more than doubled. The current him was not the best in terms of strength, but his combat strength was outstanding, enough to do whatever he wanted on the continent. This is great. The manor head's secret chamber looked simple, but it had such an incredible effect. I can't waste the remaining 20 days. I'll take the opportunity to practice the 9 swords of the burial of heaven and increase the power of my swordsmanship. Thinking of this, he manipulated the divine soul golden sword and entered Kenshin's tomb to cultivate. Shwa. The golden sword of divine soul took on his appearance, turning into a small, transparent golden figure that appeared in the tomb of the sword god. He was standing in the middle of the grayish-white wasteland, and in front of him were the 18 cold, pitch-black tombstones. The 9 tombstones on the left were still empty. There was nothing there. There were 9 tombstones on the right, and 8 of them were empty. Only the first tombstone was engraved with the first level of the sword soul path. Ji Tianqing subconsciously glanced at the tombstone and saw the ancient seal script on the tombstone light up with a dark golden light. Originally, the 10-meter-tall tombstone was pitch black and emitted a cold aura of death. But at this moment, the tombstone was wrapped in a layer of hazy golden light, and it was emitting a mysterious power. What's going on? This tombstone seems a little strange. Ji Tianqing frowned and walked in front of the tombstone, full of doubts, and carefully observed it. He looked at it for a while and couldn't find any clues, so he reached out to touch the tombstone to see what was going on. However, as soon as his hands touched the tombstone flashed with a dark golden light. Shwa! In just an instant, the mysterious dark golden light enveloped his divine soul. A terrifying devouring power erupted from the tombstone and swallowed him instantly, making him unable to resist. Shwa! With a flash of light, Ji Tianqing's divine soul disappeared. The golden light on the tombstone also quickly faded, and it became normal, pitch black and cold as usual. Ji Tianqing thought that after the tombstone changed and swallowed him, there would be some danger. But when he saw the scene in front of him clearly, he was stunned on the spot. He was swallowed by the tombstone and entered a strange space. All around him, above his head, and below his feet were endless white clouds and thick fog. In the sea of clouds in front of him, there was a white jade stone bridge that was more than 10 feet wide and 100 meters long, connecting to the depths of the sea of clouds. On the other end of the white jade stone bridge, there was a mysterious pagoda that was more than 1,000 feet tall and had a total of 5 floors, standing quietly in the sea of clouds. The gently rolling white clouds and thick fog covered more than half of the pagoda, making it difficult for him to see clearly. The pagoda's design was extremely dignified and luxurious, like the palace of the gods in heaven. The pagoda had 8 corners, and on the cornice of each corner, there was a statue of a mythical beast. There was a golden dragon, a fire dragon, a black dragon, a silver dragon, a phoenix, a vermilion bird, a white tiger, and so on. The entire pagoda was dark golden and shone with a faint golden light in the sea of clouds, looking incomparably sacred. Ji Tianqing looked up at the sacred and majestic pagoda, his face full of shock and disbelief. It's just an ordinary tombstone in a Kenshin tomb, but there's actually another world inside, and such a mysterious space is hidden. It seems that my understanding of the Kenshin tomb is too little. There are still many secrets hidden in the Kenshin tomb that I can't even imagine. He sighed emotionally and let out a sigh. After calming down, he stepped onto the white jade stone bridge and passed through the hazy sea of clouds, walking toward the golden pagoda on the other end of the stone bridge. When he crossed the white jade stone bridge and arrived at the door of the pagoda, he saw that there were 99 steps of white jade stairs in front of him, connecting to the door of the pagoda. On both sides of the door, there were 9 tall and majestic statues. Each statue was wearing silver armor and a golden cape, with a divine weapon at their waist and an ancient halberd in their hands. Without a doubt, these 18 statues were all guards, all of them majestic and domineering. Right above the gate, there was a broad and magnificent plaque with 3 dark golden ancient seal characters engraved on it. Ji Tianqing looked for a while before he recognized the three ancient characters. It was the Heavenly Sutra Pavilion. Heavenly Sutra Pavilion? Where is this place? From the name, could it be a place to store books? He raised his eyebrows and muttered silently in his heart. He looked at the door of the Heavenly Sutra Pavilion and found that the 30-meter-tall door was tightly shut. There were vivid carvings of a golden dragon and a fire phoenix on the door. However, there was no door knocker on the door, nor was there any array to open the door. Ji Tianqing muttered for a while, but he didn't know how to open the door, so he stretched out his hands and pushed. When his hands touched the door immediately lit up with a dazzling golden light, and the carvings of the golden dragon and fire phoenix seemed to come to life. Swoosh! Swoosh! The golden dragon and the fire phoenix both turned their heads to look at him. Then, they wriggled their bodies into the door and disappeared. Ji Tianqing was dumbfounded as he watched. He exclaimed in his heart. Chapter 1145. When the door of the Heavenly Book Pavilion opened, a ray of bright golden light shone out from the main hall. Ji Tianqing was startled. He turned to look at the sky above his head and the sea of clouds around him. The surroundings were shrouded in clouds and mist. Although it was not too dark, it was not too bright either. On the contrary, the main hall of the Heavenly Book Pavilion was surrounded by bright golden light, making it look resplendent. Ji Tianqing was a little puzzled. He stepped into the main hall and sized up the situation inside. The main hall was very spacious and bright. It had a radius of 100 meters. The surrounding walls were inlaid with gemstones and bright lights, shining with a dark golden light. The floor was paved with dark white jade and was engraved with exquisite and beautiful patterns. It was a magnificent star map. In the middle of the main hall was a wide passage, with dozens of bookshelves arranged neatly on both sides. Those bookshelves were like magic treasures. They were made of special materials and were engraved with formations, emitting an invisible and powerful force. Each bookshelf was 30 meters long, with dozens to hundreds of books placed on it. The situation was just as Ji Tianqing had guessed. This Heavenly Book Pavilion was a treasure. He strolled among the many bookshelves and carefully observed for a moment, then he found a clue. The floor of the main hall and the dozens of bookshelves were spotless and clean as if they were new. This made him frown and he muttered to himself, "Strange, there is a space hidden in the tombstone, and there is a mysterious Heavenly Book Pavilion. This place has been through at least 1,000 years, so why is it still brand new and clean? There is not even a trace of the passage of time?" He vaguely felt that this Heavenly Book Pavilion was a little strange. However, since he had entered the Heavenly Book Pavilion, he could not just leave. Of course, he had to find out what was going on. He wandered among the many bookshelves, his gaze searching the bookshelves, sweeping through row after row of books. After a quarter of an hour, he had checked more than 20 bookshelves and swept through tens of thousands of books. Without exception, these books were all history books and biographies, recording all kinds of secret stories and biographies of famous people. Most of the books were similar to the biography of the Supreme Sword Great Emperor, records of Dark Parasol, travels on Kunua Mountain, and records of 10,000 years. However, the legendary people and places described in these history books and biographies, as well as the various cultural styles, were all things that Ji Tianqing had never heard of. He even suspected that the powerhouses and places recorded in these biographies were not in the Tianxian continent. Moreover, each bookshelf was sealed and protected by a mysterious formation. The power of the formation could protect the books from the passage of time. Of the books. Of the Heavenly Book Pavilion. It was probably because the books stored on this bookshelf were not particularly important or precious that the level of the sealing formation was relatively low. Ji Tianqing spent a day to break the seal on the bookshelf, of Heavenly Book. Of Heavenly Book. Of Heavenly Book, of Heavenly Book. Of. This was exactly what he wanted to see. He flipped through the Heavenly Book Pavilion carefully, checking the contents page by page. About 2 hours later, he finally finished reading the Heavenly Book Pavilion. He had a corresponding understanding of the Tianxian continent in the ancient era. He understood many myths, legends, and ancient secrets. According to the book, at the beginning of the ancient era, the Tianxian continent was still in an uncivilized era. At that time, the 5 continents coexisted. They were very far away from each other, but they had not been sealed by the gods. At that time, there were thousands of races living together in the Tianxian continent. Humans were not the masters of the continent. They were still building kingdoms without restraint. Wars broke out frequently over food, minerals, and territory. Martial arts cultivation was still in its infancy. Mortals could only cultivate to the heavenly origin realm at most, which was the limit. A heavenly origin realm powerhouse could lead many kingdoms and form a super empire. They occupied 20 to 30% of the human territory. Later on, many gods descended from the sky and came to the continent. Many deities protected the various races and taught them martial arts and cultivation methods. From then on, the various races gradually grasped the cultivation methods. They learned how to communicate with the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and use various training resources to increase their strength. Martial arts entered a stage of rapid development. Martial arts geniuses emerged one after another. Elite martial artists also emerged like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. The human race also gradually broke away from the stage where the kingdoms ruled the world. Powerful sects and families kept appearing to rule over the kingdoms. Although there would be some conflicts and friction between the various races. However, under the leadership of the gods, the people of the various races always found a way to live in peace and live together. Although the human race was innately weak and was one of the weaker races in the world. However, the human race had superior wisdom and powerful learning and comprehension ability. After thousands of years of reproduction, the human race gradually became one of the major races on the continent. After many more years, the human race, the demon race, and the water clan became the 3 most powerful races on the continent. They established the tripartite balance of power. The Tianxian continent at that time was the most glorious and the most magnificent era of martial arts. There were billions of living beings cultivating the martial Tao, and there were also gods controlling the continent, protecting the various races and recuperating. However, the good times did not last long. Not long after, a small-scale battle between the gods broke out. The power of the battle between the gods shattered the world barrier and created a hole in the sky. On the other side of the hole, it was connected to another world. In that world, there lived a very powerful and strange race. The people of that race were born with endless strength. Their power, defense, and speed far surpassed any other race on the Tianxian continent. Additionally, they were proficient in killing and fighting techniques. They could also swallow the gloomy and evil chi between the heaven and earth. They could suck the flesh and soul of living creatures to increase their own power quickly. Without a doubt, this powerful and evil race was the Devil Clan. That strange world was extremely lacking in resources and it was also broken and incomplete. Clearly, the Devil Clan was unwilling to stay in that broken world. Under the lead of the ancestor Devil God, they all passed through the hole in the sky and poured into the Tianxian land that was even more vast and rich in resources. Thus, a disaster befell the Tianxian land. After countless devil clans poured into the Tianxian land, they invaded the territories of the various races and plundered their products and resources. They slaughtered the living creatures of various races wantonly, swallowed the flesh and soul of living creatures, and practiced evil secret techniques to increase their power quickly. Billions of devil clans covered the Tianxian land like a black tide. The living creatures of various races were brutally slaughtered and enslaved as they fell into an abyss of suffering. Chapter 1146. Those few hundred years were the darkest and cruelest era of the Tianxian land. All clans were slaughtered and enslaved by the Devil Clan. They became the lowest slaves and lived a life worse than pigs and dogs. The divine beings that protected all clans kept attacking the Devil Clan. They swore to drive the Devil Clan out of the Tianxian land or annihilate them completely. However, the power of the ancestor Devil God surpassed all the divine beings' expectations. Wherever he went, he set off a reign of terror and brought all kinds of calamities to the Tianxian land. Many divine beings called him the Death God. The Death God did not fight alone. He had many powerful devil gods under his command. Even when the divine beings of all clans joined hands, they were not a match for the Death God and many devil gods. In the end, many divine beings discussed and made a decision. They asked the divine beings above the 9 heavens for help. They borrowed a divine pearl from one of the supreme divine beings. The divine beings joined hands and used the divine pearl to fill the hole in the sky. They blocked the passage to the strange world to prevent more devil clan from pouring into the Tianxian land. Additionally, the Yaoguang goddess above the 9 heavens also descended to the Tianxian land with the divine light of the 7 glorious stars. When she saw the suffering of all living things, the Yaoguang goddess was also moved. She was incomparably furious and hated the devil clan to the extreme. Under her leadership, the divine beings joined hands and engaged in a life and death battle with the Death God and many devil gods. Thus, the battle of the divine beings broke out. No one knew where the battlefield of the divine beings was or how many years it lasted. The people of the land only knew that the Yaoguang goddess chose to sacrifice herself to save all living things in the Tianxian land. She burned her godhead and soul to perish together with the ancestor devil god. After the battle of the divine beings, the heavens and earth shook for a few dozen years before calming down. In those few dozen years, the sky was dim and the earth was dark. The entire land was filled with 5-colored spiritual chi. When the heavens and earth returned to the light, all the divine beings disappeared without a trace and never appeared again. The devil clan lost the protection of the Death God and many devil gods. They were defeated by all clans in the world. In the end, they retreated to the northern desert. Legend had it that the divine beings above the 9 heavens were furious and sent down divine punishment. They turned the northern desert into an extremely poor and cold land of death. Before goddess Yaoguang died, she planted an eternal bloodline curse on the demons. Every time there was a full moon, the demons would reveal their true forms. They would become incomparably ugly and suffer great pain and torture. The profound sky continent was also sealed by the gods and isolated from the other continents to prevent the demons from escaping to the other continents and harming more living beings. And the deeds of goddess Yaoguang became an eternal legend, passed down through the long river of history. Although goddess Yaoguang had fallen, there were 2 lines in the book that were thought-provoking. As long as the 7 stars of the northern division were not destroyed, goddess Yaoguang would not fall. One day, the 7 planets' divine radiance would illuminate the world once more. After Ji Tianqing finished reading the ancient book, he had a deep impression of the contents and information. He would never forget it. Facts also proved that the records in the ancient book were correct. The Big Dipper was eternal and indestructible, and goddess Yaoguang did not truly fall. After millions of years, she was reborn in Yunyao's body. After closing the ancient book, he placed it back on the bookshelf. His heart was filled with emotions. The ancient legends and deeds described in the book are very similar to the door of heavenly awakening in that dilapidated world. Looks like the divine bead that was borrowed from a certain god above the 9 heavens mentioned in the book is the heaven-mending pearl in my mind. In this case, the heaven-mending pearl is a true divine object. Turns out that the demons were not originally a race of the profound sky continent. They invaded the profound sky continent from that dilapidated world. He thought about it slightly and understood many things and mysteries. Those illusory myths and legends were also verified one by one. They were all real. After Ji Tianqing put down the ancient book, he pondered for a long time before leaving the first level of the Heavenly Sutra Pavilion and walking towards the second level. Between the first level of the hall and the second level, there was a layer of invisible sealing array. What was gratifying was that Ji Tianqing stepped over the seal effortlessly and entered the second level of the Heavenly Sutra Pavilion. In the second level of the hall, it was similarly spacious and bright. Many bookshelves were placed. Many books were placed on each bookshelf. They were all imprisoned by a sealing array. The difference was that the many books displayed on those antique bookshelves were all cultivation method manuals. Ji Tianqing looked through countless bookshelves and discovered that the cultivation methods displayed on those bookshelves were at least cultivation methods of the primordial soul realm and above. Even the lowest level cultivation method was a secret art that could only be cultivated by primordial soul realm experts. The vast majority of cultivation method manuals could only be cultivated by primordial soul realm experts and above. Ji Tianqing passed through each bookshelf and searched for a long time before he found the lowest level cultivation method, which was a relatively simple primordial soul realm cultivation method. This cultivation method manual was called the Primordial Soul Leaving Body Mystic Technique. Ji Tianqing had long understood that only primordial soul realm experts could condense primordial soul dharma idol and release the primordial soul from the body to kill enemies thousands of miles away. Although the physical body of a soul refinement realm expert was destroyed, the remaining divine soul could also be restored. However, the divine soul of a soul refinement realm expert could not leave the body for too long. There was also a certain limit to the distance and the divine soul would lose its dharmic powers and power. However, primordial soul realm experts were not restricted by this. Their primordial soul could leave the body. No matter how far away it was from the body, it could still exert great power. Ji Tianqing broke the seal on the bookshelf. After taking out the ancient book, he carefully flipped through it for a long time. He compared the cultivation method in the ancient book and according to the primordial soul leaving body mystic technique, he began to analyze and try to cultivate it repeatedly. This ancient book was a cultivation method for primordial soul realm experts. However, he had already broken the seal and obtained this manual. Moreover, he could understand the contents of the manual and cultivate according to the incantation. This made him realize that he could also cultivate this cultivation method manual and that it might have special effects. Unknowingly, half a month passed. After half a month of tough cultivation, Ji Tianqing finally understood the essence of the primordial soul leaving body mystic technique and successfully cultivated this cultivation method. Although he had not cultivated the primordial soul, after cultivating this cultivation method, his divine soul could also have the effect of leaving the body. From now on, his divine soul could also fly out of his body and maintain it for a long time. Even his divine soul golden sword could fly thousands of miles and kill enemies from a distance. The magical effect of this cultivation method allowed him to feel the wonders of the primordial soul realm in advance. Although this was only an invisible improvement, it also increased his combat strength by several times and had great convenience. After ending his seclusion, he left the Heavenly Book Pavilion. The 100-day deadline was about to be up. He could only leave temporarily. Otherwise, the power of the Mansion Master's secret chamber would be exhausted. Anyway, the Heavenly Book Pavilion was in the space inside the tombstone. If he wanted to read any information in the future, he could come back again. After leaving the Heavenly Book Pavilion, his divine soul returned to the Mansion Master's secret chamber. Chapter 1147. Although Ji Tianqing had been in seclusion in the Palace Master's secret room for 100 days. But after he walked out of the Palace Master's secret room, only 10 days had passed in the outside world. Inside the palace, the light was dim and quiet. The Palace Master had already left. Ji Tianqing walked out of the palace and flew to the Tianqing Palace as fast as lightning. After half an hour, he had just returned to the entrance of the Tianqing Palace when a guard commander came to greet him. Reporting to the Domain Master, His Majesty the Son of Heaven came to look for you in the evening the day before yesterday. You were not in the palace, so he left. This subordinate saw his expression and reaction. It seems that he has something very important to look for you. Hearing this news, Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and thought to himself, something very important? Could it be about Long Zai Tian? So, he ordered the guard commander, quickly go to the Cloud Palace and invite His Majesty the Son of Heaven to come over for a discussion. The guard commander acknowledged the order and hurried to Cloudy Palace. Ji Tianqing returned to his residence and sat in the study room, patiently waiting. After half an hour, Long Yunshao rushed over with an anxious expression. He strode into the study room and nodded to Ji Tianqing as a greeting. Ji Tianqing saw his dignified expression and a hint of worry between his brows. He realized that things were not good and quickly asked, Son of Heaven, why are you looking for me? Is there a result of that matter? Long Yunshao nodded slightly and said in a gloomy tone, this monarch knows that Long Zai Tian's strength has reached the soul-refining realm and is very difficult to deal with. So, this monarch specially arranged 2 soul-refining realm powerhouses to handle this matter, to ensure that nothing goes wrong. The original plan was very smooth and they took action the day before arriving at the border. Long Zai Tian was seriously injured by them and was about to lose his life, but suddenly, a mysterious powerhouse came out and rescued Long Zai Tian. Suddenly hearing this news, Ji Tianqing frowned, his pupils constricted and his eyes flashed with a cold light. Long Zai Tian was rescued? Then did your people investigate who rescued Long Zai Tian? Where did Long Zai Tian go? Long Yunshao nodded and said in a low voice, of course they did. It's a pity that the mysterious expert was too strong and didn't reveal his identity. They had also been severely injured by the mysterious expert and were on the verge of death. Luckily, they had managed to escape. As for where Long Zai Tian was rescued, no one knows. This monarch's people are still investigating. Damn it. Ji Tianqing angrily said, it wasn't easy for us to bring down Long Zai Tian, and now we're about to cut the weeds and pull out the roots, eliminating all future troubles. Unexpectedly, he was rescued by someone and his whereabouts were unknown. If we allow him to recover and build a powerful force, he will definitely come back and take revenge on us. Although I'm not afraid of his revenge, this is still a troublesome matter. Long Yunshao nodded slightly and said with a heart full of resentment, that's right. This sovereign has been unable to sleep for the past few days. As long as Long Zai Tian doesn't die, this sovereign will feel like a thorn in his back. Ji Tianqing was silent for a moment, then said with a serious face, since it has already happened, this is the only way. Long Zai Tian is a scheming person. When I took away the myriad gu altar, he had already predicted the result and must have made arrangements in advance. That mysterious expert who rescued him is very likely a backup plan arranged by him in advance. But I really can't think of anything. Besides Yu Tianhong and Murongzheng, who else has a soul refinement realm expert under him? Long Yunshao frowned and looked at him with shining eyes. He transmitted his voice. After the plan failed, the 2 experts arranged by this monarch reported the situation to this monarch in detail. That mysterious expert's physique didn't look like a human, and the cultivation methods and secret skills he used were also not human martial arts. According to their speculations, that mysterious expert was most likely a demon. What? Ji Tianqing was stunned and showed a startled expression. The mysterious expert who rescued Long Zai Tian was actually a demon? Could it be that Long Zai Tian had long been secretly colluding with the demon? Long Yunshao shook his head and said with a puzzled face, this monarch also doesn't understand and feels that this matter is fishy. No matter how sinister and despicable Long Zai Tian is, he would never dare to collude with the demon. That is a taboo of the human race. If he really colluded with the demon, the emperor would have already dealt with him. Hearing his analysis, Ji Tianqing became more and more puzzled. If Long Zai Tian didn't collude with the demon, why did the demon expert rescue him? This monarch also doesn't know. I can only send people to continue the investigation. Long Yunshao showed a helpless expression. Ji Tianqing nodded and said in a deep voice, Son of Heaven, this matter can only be done by you. You must investigate it thoroughly. It's best if you can find Long Zai Tian's whereabouts. If you can't completely kill him, we will have to be on guard against his revenge in the future. Long Yunshao slightly nodded and said, this monarch understands. Don't worry, this is the most important matter for this monarch. In addition, this monarch came to find you for a second matter. The imperial court has already dealt with many rich and powerful families and forces. This matter is gradually calming down. Now, the emperor wants to deal with the myriad gu altar. After all, Murongzheng, Yu Tianhong, and many other rich and powerful families are still under the control of the gu poison. The imperial court wants to take back this evil magic treasure and completely destroy it, so as to prevent this evil item from spreading and causing trouble to the human world. Tianxing, the emperor ordered this monarch to find you. Hand over the myriad gu altar to this monarch so that this monarch can report back to the imperial court. The imperial court's decision was already within Ji Tianxing's expectations. He didn't feel surprised at all, nor did he resist or be unwilling. He took out the myriad gu altar and handed it over to Long Yunxiao. Long Yunxiao solemnly accepted the myriad gu altar before bidding farewell to him and leaving Tianqing Palace. After Long Yunxiao left, Ji Tianxing sat in the study room and pondered for a while before returning to his room to rest. A day quickly passed. Early the next morning, the guard commander came to the door and reported a piece of news. Reporting to the territorial lord, here is a secret letter from the Donglin Divine General's residence. Xiao Han finally replied to my letter. Ji Tianxing raised his eyebrows slightly with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. He waved his hand and opened the door, allowing the guard commander to bring the letter in. After receiving the letter, he asked the guard commander to leave and carefully read the contents of the letter. Only to see a few lines of majestic, vigorous, and powerful characters written on the fine golden silk paper. It was Xiao Han's handwriting. Young Master Ji, this monarch has already reported to the Xiao clan about your request and specially asked for the clan elder's opinion. Now, there is finally news from the clan. After this monarch received the news, this monarch immediately informed you. My ancestor left the Xiao clan several decades ago to travel outside. Fortunately, my ancestor returned to the Xiao clan 5 years ago. 1 month later, it will be the Holy Fire Festival of my clan. At that time, my clan will hold a grand celebration. Chapter 1148. After reading Xiao Han's letter, Ji Tianxing put it away and looked relieved. Fortunately, the Xiao clan's patriarch is in the Xiao clan and Xiao Han is willing to help me. Soon, I will be able to see the Xiao clan's patriarch and verify my speculation. Xiao Han had told him in Wuxia City that the Xiao clan was very far away from Zhongzhou and was hidden in a hidden forbidden area. He also mentioned in the letter that the Xiao clan would be holding the Holy Fire Festival in a month's time. Although Ji Tianxing didn't know what kind of festival the Holy Fire Festival was for the time being. However, Xiao Han's tone was solemn. This festival was obviously a very important celebration for the Xiao clan. Ji Tianxing calculated in his heart. It will take at least half a month to reach the Xiao clan from Zhongzhou. Xiao Han will be leaving for the Xiao clan in 2 days. I have to pack up and prepare to go to the Xiao clan with him. After making up his mind, he got up and left Tianqing Palace for Yunyao Palace. Before he left, he had to say goodbye to Yunyao. Half an hour later, he entered Yunyao Palace and saw Yunyao in the study room. Yunyao was reading a book in the study room. She was reading the books written by the god masters in the monarch residence. These books recorded many methods and cultivation experiences for condensing the divine soul and breaking through to the soul-tempering realm. Ji Tianxing glanced at the names of the books and guessed what Yunyao was thinking. She must be preparing to break through to the soul-tempering realm. After entering the study room, he called out, "Yao Yao." Yunyao was awakened by him. She quickly put down the ancient book in her hand and turned to look at him. She nodded and said, "Tianxing, you are here. Is there anything I can help you with?" Ji Tianxing nodded and walked to her side. He sat down and said, "Yao Yao, I will be leaving the monarch residence tomorrow to do something important." Yunyao nodded slightly and asked with concern, "How long will you be away for this time? Will it be dangerous? How about I go with you?" Ji Tianxing smiled and waved his hand. "Don't worry, there's no danger. I'm just going to a place to meet a person and confirm a matter. My departure this time will take about 2 months. I'll leave you 3 jade slips. If you have any urgent matters, just send me a message." After saying that, he took out 3 jade slips from his interspatial ring and handed them to Yunyao. Yunyao received the jade slip and put it into her interspatial ring. Then, she said, "Tianxing, you can set your mind at ease and attend to your matters. Go and come back early. It just so happens that my strength has reached a bottleneck. I'm preparing to enter secluded cultivation for a few months to break through the shackles of the soul-refining realm. If everything goes smoothly, I'll probably be able to break through to the soul refinement realm by the time you return. Ji Tianqing revealed a gratified smile and nodded. I believe in you. You will break through smoothly. The two sat in the study for a while and chatted for a while before Ji Tianqing bid farewell and left. He didn't have anything to pack and directly left the monarch mansion. He flew over the sky of Zhongzhou City and rushed toward Wuxia City. Several hours later, he was flying thousands of meters high in the sky. At this time, Qian Yu's voice sounded in his mind. Old Ji, where are we going? Ji Tianqing was startled. With a thought, he opened the entrance to the sword world and let Qian Yu fly out. Whoosh! An icy blue light flashed and Qian Yu flew out of the sword world and appeared in the sky. It carried Ji Tianqing on its back and soared through the sky. Ji Tianqing revealed a smile and said, I'm going to Wuxia City to find Divine General Donglin to do something. Qian Yu, why didn't you stay in the sword world and cultivate? What are you doing out here? Qian Yu shook its head and said in a depressed tone, It's been almost a year. The little black dragon and I have been cultivating in seclusion in the sword world and are about to die of boredom. The Jinshan King and Ida have been busy all day exploring new territories, cultivating ore veins, and forging weapons in all kinds of different ways. I don't know what stimulated the little black dragon, but it only knows how to cultivate in seclusion and doesn't play with me anymore. I'm bored in there, so I came out to get some fresh air. Ji Tianqing patted its head and said with a smile, the Earth Spirit's greatest wish is to have a peaceful place with abundant ore veins for them to rest and recuperate. The sword world is their ideal home, so of course they are busy cultivating ore veins and forging weapons. As for the little black dragon, it must have been stimulated in the Eastern Sea. That big black dragon called Longyuan imparted many cultivation experiences and secret techniques to the little black dragon, which is of great help to it. The little black dragon has been working hard for the past year, so it must want to master the secret technique and reach the spirit refining stage as soon as possible. Speaking of this, he showed a bitter smile and said, the Earth Spirit has been working hard, recuperating, and growing stronger. The little black dragon has also been working hard. It has reached the 5th level of Sky Origin stage, and its strength has been increasing rapidly. You are the only one who is still as lazy as before, not working hard at cultivation. You should learn more from the little black dragon. Qian Yu curled his lips in dissatisfaction, TCH, I don't want to be like the little black dragon, so dull and boring. Plus, I am the noble king of spirit beasts, with extraordinary talent and natural talent. Even if I don't cultivate, I am still stronger than them. The little black dragon is only at the 5th level of Sky Origin stage, and I am at the 6th level. Old Ji, why don't you praise me? In any case, Ji Tianqing was in a hurry and had nothing to do, so he chatted with Qian Yu and said sincerely, Qian Yu, it is true that your talent is higher than the little black dragon's. But you can't waste your great aptitude and talent like this, wasting your time like this, wasting your time. With such extraordinary talent, if you are as diligent as the little black dragon, you will reach the spirit refining stage soon, won't you? How about this? I will set a goal for the two of you. Whoever reaches the spirit refining stage first will be able to stay by my side. If you don't reach the spirit refining stage, you will stay in the sword world and cultivate. You are not allowed to come out. Qian Yu's face was filled with grievance and anger. He snorted coldly and said, Humph. Old Ji, you know that I am a carefree little heavenly fox who loves freedom, yet you use such a vicious punishment on me. You heartless guy, you only know how to side with the little black dragon. Ji Tianqing rolled his eyes, don't play the pitiful with me. I am doing this for your own good. No bargaining. With that, he flipped his hand and a white light appeared, opening the entrance to the sword world. Qian Yu was unable to resist and was directly sucked into the sword world. Qian Yu was filled with helplessness and depression. He could only return to the peaceful Earth City and disturb the little black dragon who was cultivating in seclusion. Before they knew it, 5 days had passed. Chapter 1149. When Ji Tianqing entered Wuxia City, Xiao Han was already waiting for him in the city lord's mansion. After the two met in the city lord's mansion's guest hall, they exchanged some pleasantries before sitting down to chat. 10 days ago, Xiao Han received a reply from the Xiao clan and sent a secret letter to Ji Tianqing. After settling the military affairs in the Eastern Sea, he rushed back to Wuxia City to wait for Ji Tianqing's arrival. The two agreed on the date and decided to depart for the Xiao clan early in the morning. Ji Tianqing was puzzled and asked Xiao Han, "Sir Divine General, we will be heading to the Xiao clan tomorrow. Can Sir Divine General please tell me where the Xiao clan is?" Xiao Han revealed a meaningful smile and transmitted his voice, "You will know tomorrow anyway, so there's no harm in telling you. The Xiao clan is actually hidden in the most dangerous forbidden area on the continent, in the depths of the Southern Desolation Swamp. Very few people dare to enter the Southern Desolation Swamp as it is too dangerous. Those who enter rashly will most likely lose their lives. Moreover, the Xiao clan is in a grotto heaven and the entrance is very well hidden. Even if ordinary people know where the Xiao clan is, they won't be able to find the entrance, let alone enter." Ji Tianqing finally understood and nodded. Everyone thinks that the Southern Desolation Swamp is a land of God's punishment with endless dangers hidden in it. No one lives there. No one expected the Xiao clan to live in seclusion in the Southern Desolation Swamp. No wonder they can live in seclusion for thousands of years. The Xiao clan dares to live in seclusion in the Southern Desolation Swamp. This shows the courage, determination, and means of the Xiao clan's patriarch. They are all extraordinary. "Young Master Ji, you flatter me," Xiao Han said modestly. "There are still 20 days before the Holy Fire Festival. With our speed, we will be just in time to return to the Xiao clan." Ji Tianqing quickly asked, "Sir Divine General, can you explain what the Holy Fire Festival is? I would like to know more about this festival so that there won't be any misunderstandings." "Well, that's good too." Xiao Han thought for a while and explained, "The Holy Fire Festival is a grand celebration held once every 20 years in the Xiao clan. This festival would last for 3 days. Sacred flames would be lit all over the clan, and they would not be extinguished for 3 days and 3 nights. During the Holy Fire Festival, the new generation of Xiao clan's disciples would be tested by the clan. Only the top 2 that passed the test were qualified to leave the Xiao clan and venture into the Tianxian land. The disciples of the Xiao clan who failed to obtain the top 2 positions could only wait for the next Holy Fire Festival 20 years later. If the disciples of the Xiao clan were still unable to obtain the top 2 positions in the second Holy Fire Festival, they would have to stay in the Xiao clan forever and reproduce until they died of old age. Every disciple of the Xiao clan had 2 chances to leave, but only the most outstanding disciples could head to the outside world. At the same time, the Holy Fire Festival was also a celebration for young men and women to court each other. Boys and girls who express their love in public during the Holy Fire Festival and receive a response will receive the blessings of the entire clan. After listening to Xiao Han's explanation, Ji Tianqing couldn't help but reveal a smile. It sounds rather interesting. Not only can it allow the Xiao clan to maintain peace and friendship, it can also motivate the younger generation. It seems like this Holy Fire Festival is of great significance to the Xiao clan. Of course. Xiao Han nodded and said, "Other than the Xiao clan's patriarch's birthday every 100 years, the Holy Fire Festival is the grandest festival. This time, I used the Holy Fire Festival as an opportunity to find an excuse that the elders couldn't reject. I want to witness the test process with my own eyes and bring out the 2 most outstanding disciples of the Xiao clan to train under me." Ji Tianqing's eyes couldn't help but light up. He smiled and said, "This excuse is indeed hard for the Xiao clan to reject. After all, you are the Donglin Divine General, one of the most respected figures in the continent. If the 2 inexperienced disciples of the Xiao clan could receive your guidance and nurture, it would be a great blessing and opportunity. I'm afraid all the young disciples would dream of it." Xiao Han smiled and nodded. "That's right. I used this excuse to get the elders to agree to let me bring you into the Xiao clan. However, the Xiao clan's rules are there, and the elders can't openly violate them. I can bring you into the Shao clan, but you have to suffer some grievances to cover up this matter. Ji Tianqing was already mentally prepared. He asked, Sir Divine General, may I ask what I need to do? Shao Han looked at him deeply and asked tentatively, you have to pretend to be a disciple of the Shao clan and use the identity of my nephew to follow me into the Shao clan. Of course, I don't mean to take advantage of you. This is just an expedient measure. Everyone knows about it. Ji Tianqing thought for a while and agreed readily. Sir Divine General, you are too polite. You are a senior who has lived for more than 100 years and is also the Divine General who guards the Eastern Sea. I am your junior, and it is reasonable for me to call you uncle. There is no grievance. Seeing him agree so readily, the last trace of worry in Shao Han's heart disappeared. He quickly smiled and nodded. Since young Master Ji is so righteous, then I am relieved. You can rest in the city lord's mansion today. Tomorrow morning, we will leave for the southern wasteland swamp. Okay. Ji Tianqing nodded and went to rest under the guidance of the housekeeper. A day passed by quickly. Early in the morning of the second day, Ji Tianqing left the city lord's mansion with Shao Han. The two of them flew up to the sky and rushed to the south as fast as lightning. The distance from the central continent to the southern wasteland swamp was too far. A year ago, Ji Tianqing was only at the 8th level of the sky origin stage. It took him 3 months to reach the southern wasteland city from the central continent. But it was different now. He and Shao Han were both powerhouses of the soul refining stage. Their speed was several times faster than before. Shao Han was driving a flying magic weapon. It was a black flying boat of the soul level. It was like a stream of light cutting through the sky, as fast as lightning. Ji Tianqing was standing on a blazing white soul magic sword. He was like a white light, flying side by side with Shao Han. In fact, he was as fast as Shao Han with only 50% of his strength. If he drove the soul magic sword with all his strength, he would be twice as fast as Shao Han. The two of them flew all the way and didn't encounter any danger or trouble. About 14 days later, the two of them had crossed more than half of the southern continent and arrived at the southern wasteland city. The long journey and flying had consumed a lot of their magic power. Both of them looked travel-worn and fatigued. The two of them prepared to enter the southern wasteland city and rest for the night. They would continue their journey tomorrow morning. It was evening, and the sun hadn't completely set yet. However, when the two of them were 100 miles away from the southern wasteland city, they saw that the sky was dark. On the vast grassland outside the southern wasteland city, there were countless huge figures, flying as fast as the wind, attacking the southern wasteland city. Even in the sky around the southern wasteland city, there were tens of thousands of birds and black figures, covering the sky and covering the sun. Seeing this scene, Ji Tianqing was stunned for a moment before he reacted. Chapter 1150. A year ago, when Ji Tianqing came to southern wasteland city for the first time, he had heard about the beast tide. The so-called beast tide was when a large number of demon beasts rushed out of the southern wasteland swamp at a specific time and attacked the surrounding cities and towns. Countless demon beasts and birds covered the sky like a tide, wantonly destroying the cities and slaughtering the civilians. Although Ji Tianqing did not encounter such a thing at that time, he had paid attention to the information about the beast tide. He knew that there would be a beast tide in southern wasteland city every 2 years, but the specific time was not fixed. Every time a beast tide broke out, it would bring great destruction to southern wasteland city, causing the deaths of countless warriors and civilians. After a beast tide, southern wasteland city would be in a mess, with corpses everywhere and rivers of blood. But the civilians of southern wasteland city resisted the beast tide tenaciously, wiped away their blood and tears, cleaned up the city, and continued to live a strong life. Ji Tianqing did not expect that he would not encounter a beast tide outbreak a year ago, but today he happened to encounter one. As a divine general, Shao Han was naturally experienced and knowledgeable, and he knew what a beast tide was. His expression changed immediately, and he accelerated towards southern wasteland city. Quick! Let's hurry to southern wasteland city and stop the beast tide from invading, and protect the civilians in the city. Although the southern continent and southern wasteland city were not under his jurisdiction. But as a divine general of the imperial court, it was his duty to protect the civilians and territory of the human race, regardless of region. Ji Tianqing was no exception. As a transcendent expert, how could he stand aside and watch the civilians suffer a disaster with his own eyes? Swoosh! Swoosh! The two of them flew towards southern wasteland city as fast as light, and arrived above the city gate in the blink of an eye. On the grassland outside the city, there were thousands of ferocious demon beasts, madly rushing towards southern wasteland city. Those demon beasts were of different races. There were cloud leopards with silver stripes all over their bodies, flame tigers with fiery red bodies, thunder beasts with 4 feet on fire, and electric arcs on their antennae. Most of the demon beasts had the strength of the metaphysical realm, and their bodies were about 1 to 2 zhang long and 2 to 3 meters tall. A few of the demon beasts were as large as houses, aggressive and full of murderous intent. They were all origin core realm demon beasts. And in the sky, there were several giant demon beasts with wings, all of which had the strength of the origin realm. The 6 demon beasts were the leaders of the thousands of demon beasts. Were the leaders. Their intelligence was quite high. They stood in the sky, overlooking the group of demonic beasts on the grassland, as well as the situation inside the southern wasteland city. Southern demon beasts southern wasteland city were in the sky, from different directions, and tried to tear wasteland city's defense. As for the 1,000-meter-high sky, the number of demonic beasts and birds that covered the sky was even greater. There were as many as 30 to 40,000 of them. The leading birds had a wingspan of nearly 100 meters, which was huge enough to cover the sky and the sun. Their wings stirred up strong winds like tornadoes as they rushed towards the southern wasteland city. Fortunately, the southern wasteland city seemed to have received the news in advance. They knew that the beast tide was about to break out and had already made corresponding preparations. Experience time. Times of hundreds of demon beasts. Every time a demon beast tide broke out, there would be some signs. The 2 city gates of southern wasteland city were closed, and the city defense array was activated. An earthy yellow light shield with a radius of 100 miles enveloped the entire southern wasteland city. Above the city wall, tens of thousands of city guards and warriors were holding swords and crossbows, ready for battle. Between the battlements of the city wall, many ballistae, catapults, and spears were set up. When the demon beasts from all directions crazily attacked the defensive formation of the southern wasteland city, the dark yellow light shield started to shake intensely under the bombardment of the fierce attacks. Countless city guards started to fight back. They controlled the ballistae, catapults, and spears to release countless steel arrows, millstone stones, and fine steel spears. Thousands of arrows and fine steel spears formed a rain of arrows, crazily raining down on the demon beasts around the city. Countless millstone-sized rocks, carrying a violent force, ruthlessly smashed towards the demon beasts that were charging from all directions. Swish, swish, swish. Bang, bang, bang. The rain of arrows covered the sky, and the giant stones pierced through the sky. Countless crazy demon beasts were pierced through by the steel arrows and spears. They fell on the grassland with blood all over their bodies, or were nailed to the ground. There were also many huge demon beasts that were hit by the millstone stones falling from the sky. Their bones and flesh were smashed, and they fell to the ground, letting out angry roars. For a moment, the sound of arrows piercing through the sky, the sound of rocks colliding with flesh, and the roars of the demon beasts intertwined into a deafening sound wave, fiercely reverberating around the southern wasteland city. Although demon beasts were knocked down to the ground one after another, they were killed on the spot, and their flesh and blood were scattered all over the grassland. But this tragic scene did not frighten the other demon beasts. On the contrary, it stimulated their fierceness even more. They launched an even more desperate attack, using all their strength to fiercely attack the city defense array of the southern wasteland city. Tens of thousands of demon beasts and birds in the sky also spat out flames, ice, and spirit energy blades, wantonly bombarding the city defense array. Countless city guards and warriors of the southern wasteland city went all out to operate the city defense array, strenuously supporting it, resisting the fierce attack of the demon beast tide. However, the city defense array's power was quickly consumed, and it was on the verge of collapse. At the end of the grassland outside the city, endless demon beasts continuously rushed out of the forest, crossing the grassland as fast as the wind, and rushed toward the southern wasteland city while roaring. The situation of the southern wasteland city was getting more and more dangerous. The city defense array became thinner and thinner, shaking more and more violently, and even numerous cracks appeared. The city defense array was about to be breached by the demon beast tide. Once the demon beast army rushed into the city, countless city guards and warriors would have to fight the demon beasts in close quarters. At that time, the southern wasteland city would certainly be plunged into disaster and war. It would be too horrible to look at. At this critical moment, Xiao Han could not help but take action. Damn evil beasts, die. He stepped into the sky, reaching a height of 1,000 meters in 3 steps, and waved his big sleeves, shooting out hundreds and thousands of 5-colored light blades. Sky Wind Feather Blade. Thousands of 5-colored light blades, each more than 3 meters long, contained incomparably sharp power. Swish swish swish. The overwhelming 5-colored light blades, like a rain of arrows, poured down, and instantly hit more than 200 demon beasts. Those demon beasts did not have time to react, and simply had no time to dodge. They were killed on the spot by the 5-colored light blades, and even their corpses were cut into pieces of meat. Countless pieces of meat mixed with blood sprinkled on the dark green grassland, emitting a pungent smell of blood, and dyeing the grassland dark red. Xiao Han's move intimidated countless demon beasts, and also made countless city guards and warriors on the city wall exclaim. Ji Tianqing also did not want to be outdone. He jumped into the sky, and pounced toward the demon beasts and birds high in the sky. Chapter 1151. Ji Tianqing understood better than anyone the principle of capturing the leader first. There were tens of thousands of bird demon beasts in the sky, densely covering the sky. No matter how strong he and Xiao Han were, how many of them could they kill? Only by killing the leader of the demon beasts first would they be able to intimidate the beast tide to the greatest extent. Swoosh! Ji Tianqing turned into a beam of golden light and instantly rushed to the vicinity of the bird leaders. Without any hesitation, he directly used a powerful killing move. Metal Emperor Slash. He waved his palms, condensing a giant golden sword that was hundreds of meters long, and slashed toward the birds of the heavenly Yuan realm. The 6 bird leaders were as large as palaces, and their wings were hundreds of meters wide. They were circling in the sky, constantly emitting chirps, commanding tens of thousands of birds to attack from all directions. The sudden appearance of the giant golden sword caught them off guard and they were unable to dodge. The giant golden sword drew a beautiful arc in the sky, and at an incredible angle, struck 3 bird leaders one after another. Bang bang bang. Following 3 deafening sounds, the 3 leaders of the birds were cut in half on the spot. Their corpses sprayed blood all over the sky and sprinkled down from the sky. The other 2 bird leaders sensed that something was wrong, and immediately let out a shrill and panicked cry, fleeing into the distance. Ji Tianqing did not hesitate to chase after them, waving his hands to release 2 giant sword radiances that shot out. Another 2 muffled sounds exploded. Before the 2 bird leaders could escape far, they were pierced through by the giant sword and killed in an instant. 5 heavenly Yuan realm bird leaders were easily killed by Ji Tianqing. The tens of thousands of bird demon beasts in the sky were suddenly a little flustered, and holes and gaps appeared in their formation. Countless soldiers and warriors on the city walls saw this scene with their own eyes, and immediately cheered in excitement. Look, there are experts coming to rescue us. Great! We're saved at last. Everyone look, the demon beasts in the sky are flustered, they must be scared out of their wits. The strength of those 2 experts is so terrifying. They are definitely not from our Heaven Wasteland Empire. They are most likely experts under the command of the Domain Lord. Quickly report to the city lord that an expert has come to our aid." The soldiers and cultivators on the city wall cheered, raising their arms and cheering for Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han. They looked at the figures of Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han. Their burning eyes were filled with worship. Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han, one dealing with the flying birds in the sky, the other dealing with the huge demonic beasts outside the city. They fought fiercely with tens of thousands of demonic beasts. They used their secret techniques and ultimate skills with unpredictable power, often killing 100 or 200 demon beasts with a single move, which was an eye-opener for the warriors of the southern wasteland city and made them extremely excited. Not long after, the southern wasteland city lord led 2 commanders and a few clan lords to the top of the city wall. These people were the most powerful experts and nobles of the southern wasteland city, and also the spiritual support of the people of the southern wasteland city. When they saw the heroic appearance of Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han on the city wall, they also revealed a look of shock, their eyes full of gratitude. Unknowingly, a quarter of an hour had passed. Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han had both killed more than 3,000 demon beasts, but they themselves were not injured in the slightest, and were still full of energy. Inside and outside the southern wasteland city, the corpses of demon beasts were scattered everywhere. Blood fell to the ground, dyeing the grass dark red. The battle situation was so tragic, but the beast tide was still surging. Tens of thousands of demon beasts were still unwilling to retreat, and madly attacked the southern wasteland city, besieging Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han. The soldiers and cultivators on the city wall all relaxed, and their hearts were much more at ease. In their opinion, with the 2 super experts Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han, the safety of the southern wasteland city was assured. Even the mayor and the heads of the wealthy families were discussing with a smile, guessing the identity of Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han. Suddenly, in the dark gray sky, a huge shadow like a mountain suddenly appeared. Swoosh! It was a shadow with a radius of 1,000 meters, carrying a terrifying aura that could suppress the heaven and earth, and fell from the sky. Its falling speed was extremely fast, like a huge mountain pressing down, fiercely bombarding the southern wasteland city. When everyone felt that something was wrong, and looked up to the sky, the shadow had already rushed to the top of the southern wasteland city. Only then did everyone see clearly that it was a giant black bird with a length of 1,000 meters, with a pair of wings that could cover the sky and the sun. Its appearance was like a goshawk, but it had 4 thick and powerful claws, and black feathers all over its body, as hard and cold as steel, emitting a sharp cold light. Especially its head, it was even more unusual. There was a bunch of dark golden feathers on its forehead, like a cluster of golden sharp swords, containing an invincible sharpness. In a pair of huge gray eyes, blood-red pupils revealed a taste of madness and bloodthirst. Ji Tianqing, Xiao Han, and the mayor of the southern wasteland city were stunned for a moment, and then they all reacted, exclaiming one after another. "Oh my God, what kind of monster is that? Such a huge demonic beast, its aura is so strong. It's the Sky Eagle. Its strength has reached the soul-refining stage. It's over. A soul-refining stage demonic beast is attacking the southern wasteland city, how can we resist it?" In just 2 breaths, the mountain-like Sky Eagle fell from the sky and bombarded the city defense array. Kaboom! In the deafening loud noise, its 4 huge, dark, cold, and incomparably sharp claws, which were as big as a house, fiercely smashed the city defense array. The dark yellow light barrier within a radius of 100 miles instantly collapsed and exploded into pieces that blotted out the sky and covered the earth, splashing in all directions. An incomparably violent hurricane raged in the southern wasteland city, crazily sweeping in all directions. The tall and sturdy city gate was blown down on the spot. The mayor of the southern wasteland city, 2 commanders, several leaders of wealthy families, and many city guards, who were standing on the city wall, were all blown away. The soldiers and warriors below the Sky Origin stage directly had their internal organs smashed, and fell to the ground, dead. The few city lords and leaders of wealthy families who had reached the Sky Origin stage were also seriously injured on the spot, vomiting blood and screaming after falling to the ground. In the blink of an eye, the jubilant atmosphere dissipated, and countless people fell into panic and horror. The city defense array was broken, and the southern wasteland city was exposed to the demonic beast tide, like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Tens of thousands of demonic beasts suddenly became crazy with excitement, and rushed to the southern wasteland city recklessly, like a tide sweeping through the buildings in the city, and countless people. In the blink of an eye, the southern wasteland city fell into a huge chaos. The buildings collapsed, and countless people died under the claws of the demonic beasts. Black smoke rose from the raging fire, making the city a mess. Chapter 1152. Although Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han didn't understand why the Sky Eagle was attacking the southern wasteland city. This kind of spirit-refining realm beast was an overlord in the southern wasteland swamp. Why would it be interested in the small southern wasteland city? But they didn't have time to think about it. The most important thing now was to stop the Sky Eagle from wreaking havoc in the city and rescue the people as soon as possible. Ji Tianqing hurriedly said to Xiao Han, "Lord Divine General, please stop the beast tide and protect the people in the city. I will deal with the Sky Eagle." Xiao Han immediately shook his head and said worriedly, "Young Master Ji, that Sky Eagle is a 1,000-year-old demon king. Its strength is comparable to a 6th or 7th level spirit-refining realm expert. You can't deal with it alone. It's too dangerous. If you want to deal with it, you and I have to work together." Ji Tianqing looked at him with a resolute gaze and said in a resolute tone, "Lord Xiao, please trust me and let me deal with it. You are the divine general of the imperial court. Protecting the people is your top priority." Then, he rushed to the Sky Eagle without looking back. His whole body was bursting with murderous intent. 3 blazing soul magic swords flew out from his back. Xiao Han was stunned. He looked at Ji Tianqing's back with a complicated expression. He pursed his lips and said, "Young Master Ji, you must be careful." How could he not understand that protecting the people in the city was more important and easier? Dealing with the Sky Eagle was the most dangerous. The slightest carelessness could cost one's life. But Ji Tianqing chose to deal with the Sky Eagle and took the initiative to risk his life. How noble and righteous was this? Xiao Han didn't say it, but he admired Ji Tianqing very much. The more he interacted with Ji Tianqing, the more he understood Ji Tianqing, the more he admired this young man. He was really a peerless talent with good character. He looked at Ji Tianqing deeply, then turned and flew to the southern wasteland city to rescue the people and kill the demon beast that invaded the city. The Sky Eagle didn't stop after destroying the city defense array. It didn't attack the people. It seemed to have a target. Its figure flashed and flew deep into the southern wasteland city. Shwa. After a few breaths, it rushed to the deepest part of the southern wasteland city like a black shadow, and stopped in the air above a pagoda. This was an ancient pagoda that was over 1,000 feet tall, and was completely gold and red in color. The pagoda had a total of 9 floors, but it was always sealed and no one could enter. On the cornice around the pagoda, there were countless carvings of divine beasts. They were lifelike and looked extremely sacred. At the top of the pagoda stood 2 lifelike statues of 2 divine birds. The divine bird on the left was a crimson fire phoenix, while the divine bird on the right was a dark gold dragon phoenix. This pagoda was the iconic building of the southern wasteland city. It was also the holy pagoda in the hearts of all the citizens. It was said that this sacred tower had thousands of years of history and was a relic left behind from ancient times. For thousands of years, the southern wasteland city had gone through the vicissitudes of time. The city had expanded several times, and it had been rebuilt more than a dozen times. However, this holy tower would always stand in the depths of the southern wasteland city. There was a poignant and touching legend about the sacred tower. However, other than the citizens of the southern wasteland city, no one believed in this legend, nor were they interested in it. The last time Ji Tianqing came to the southern wasteland city, he had noticed this pagoda and understood the relevant information. However, he did not have the time to enter the pagoda to worship and tour it, so he did not take this matter to heart. When he caught up with the Sky Eagle, he realized that the Sky Eagle was staring at the sacred tower. Only then did he realize that something was amiss. The sky eagle's eyes were fixed on the sacred tower. Its dark red pupils were surging with excitement and desire. It seemed to have sensed Ji Tianqing's aura and sensed that danger was approaching. It did not waste any more time and immediately took action. Swoosh! It released an endless amount of black light from its body. It flapped its wide wings and condensed into the shadow of a giant sword. It charged at the sacred tower as fast as the aurora. Kaboom! The sky eagle slammed into the sacred tower, and there was a loud explosion. The golden-red sacred tower's defensive array was activated, and a crimson and dark gold light barrier lit up. The entire sacred tower trembled violently. The ground at the bottom of the tower cracked in all directions. However, the holy pagoda did not collapse. The golden-red barrier cracked, but it still protected the holy pagoda. Chirp! The sky eagle's eyes shone fiercely. It once again unleashed all its strength, and its body lit up with the white light of the divine soul. Kaboom! It charged at the sacred tower recklessly and attacked the sacred tower's defensive light barrier again. Kacha! Kacha! The golden-red light barrier cracked even wider, and countless fragments burst out. It was on the verge of collapse. A super earthquake occurred in a 15-mile radius around the sacred tower. The ground cracked open, and countless wide ravines were formed. Tens of thousands of houses and buildings collapsed from the earthquake, turning into ruins. Countless citizens were buried in the ruins, and they let out desperate wails as they were on the verge of death. Ji Tianqing frowned. His pupils constricted as he stared at the sacred tower. It was only at this moment that he realized that the unassuming sacred tower was actually so magical. This was because the golden-red light barrier protecting the sacred tower was actually a soul-grade defensive array. The sky eagle's strength had reached the 6th level of the spirit refinement realm. It attacked the sacred tower with all its might twice, but it still could not break the light barrier. No. There must be something wrong with this sacred tower. What secret is hidden inside that made the sky eagle so crazy? This thought flashed through his mind. He was also very puzzled and curious. However, he did not have time to think about this. He made a prompt decision and used a secret technique to attack the sky eagle. Damned beast, die! Lightning! Ji Tianqing let out a low growl and suddenly opened the third eye on his forehead. The azure blue pupil in the golden eye released endless lightning. It condensed into a blue light pillar and blasted at the sky eagle. Kaboom! The sky eagle was hit by the lightning pillar. It let out a tragic cry and crashed into the sacred tower. Its body was charred black by the lightning. Black smoke rose in spirals, and its feathers curled up. However, this was only a light injury to it. It did not affect its battle. It actually ignored Ji Tianqing. When it saw the sacred tower's defensive light barrier crack, its eyes were filled with ecstasy. It waved its 4 claws and slapped the sacred tower with all its might. Bam! 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 In a series of dull sounds, the sacred tower's defensive light barrier shattered and completely collapsed. Following that, the 100 feet tall sacred tower also collapsed with a rumble. It was broken into several pieces by the sky eagle. Countless bricks and tiles fell from the sky to the ground. The 2 dragon and phoenix statues at the top of the tower also broke into pieces and scattered among the ruins. The sky eagle pounced into the pile of ruins. Its 4 claws dug into the ruins and dug out 2 dazzling balls of light. One was a fiery red ball of light, and the other was a resplendent golden ball of light. Chapter 1153. The sky eagle used its 2 front claws to hold the ball of fire and the ball of golden light. It raised its head and let out an excited cry. Chirp, chirp, chirp. It was very excited, as if it was venting the excitement in its heart. It even spread its wide wings and flapped them crazily. A fierce wind blew, sweeping up the rubble that was piled up like a mountain and splashing it in all directions. Heaven and earth were covered in a vast expanse of gray. The rubble that was as dense as raindrops flew wildly in a 20-mile radius. The buildings that had not completely collapsed were completely smashed into smithereens by the hurricane and rubble. Many of the civilians and martial artists that had just escaped from the rubble were also minced into pieces by the hurricane. It was a horrible death. Ji Tianqing's chest surged with killing intent. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he unsheathed his sword without hesitation. Clang! He pulled out the broken sword and slashed at the sky eagle with all his might. Vast and mighty spiritual energy condensed into 100-meter-long blazing white sword light. With a destructive power, it struck the sky eagle that was still chirping excitedly. Bam! This sword struck the heavenly eagle's back, sending it flying out with a loud bang. Its feathers that were as hard as iron were neatly cut off by the sword light and floated in the air. A gruesome wound that was more than 100 feet long was left on its back. It went deep into the bone and black blood spurted out. Bam! The sky eagle flew nearly 10 miles away and crashed into the city wall in the distance. The tall and majestic city wall was smashed by it and collapsed for 10 miles, turning into ruins all over the ground. It rolled a dozen times on the ground before flapping its wings and flying up. It let out a furious roar. It swallowed the ball of fire and the ball of golden light and turned to look at Ji Tianqing. Its eyes were filled with anger and resentment. Then, it flapped its wings and released thousands of blazing white light blades that rained down like a rain of arrows. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thousands of spiritual energy light blades instantly tore through the sky and crossed the distance of 10 miles to arrive in front of Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing could only control the 3 spiritual energy swords to form a sword net to protect himself. Spiritual energy sword net. The 3 soul-type magic swords danced as fast as the aurora, forming an impenetrable sword net that enveloped him. Thousands of soul light blades drowned Ji Tianqing's figure and hit the net of swords, producing a series of muffled sounds. Peng peng peng. Ji Tianqing was sent flying 1,000 meters away and crashed into the ruins, stirring up a cloud of dust. A moment later, when the thousands of divine soul light blades had dissipated, he withdrew the magic sword net. And at this time, the sky eagle had already flown into the sky. It escaped from the southern wasteland city like a shooting star, and flew straight towards the southern wasteland great swamp. Damned beast, you've already achieved your goal, and now you want to run away? Ji Tianqing frowned, a cold light surging in his eyes. Of course, he couldn't let the sky eagle go. He had to kill this strange beast and take back the 2 mysterious balls of holy light. But before chasing after the sky eagle, he opened the entrance to the world in the sword. He released the little black dragon, Qianyu, and the Jinshan King, as well as more than 500 Earth Spirit warriors. Little black dragon, Qianyu, Jinshan King, go help the divine general, stop the beast tide, and save the people in the city. He ordered in a dignified tone, then flew into the sky and chased after the sky eagle alone. The Jinshan King, Qianyu, the little black dragon, and several hundred Earth Spirit warriors appeared out of thin air in the ruins. They saw the ruins in the city, and countless people and martial artists fighting against the demon beasts, and understood the situation. So, they hurriedly helped Xiao Han kill the demon beasts and save the people in the city. The several hundred Earth Spirit warriors also used their innate talents to quickly clear the ruins in the city and save the people buried in the ruins. With their help, the pressure on Xiao Han was greatly reduced. The people and martial artists in the city gradually stabilized and began to counterattack in an orderly manner, resisting the invasion of the beast tide. Ji Tianqing stepped on the soul magic sword and flew through the sky like an aurora, chasing after the sky eagle into the southern wilderness great marsh. Although the sky eagle was injured, it was still strong. It was originally a flying beast, so it was best at flying, and its speed was unbelievably fast. Ji Tianqing used all his strength on the soul magic sword to barely catch up to it and gradually close the distance. About 15 minutes later, Ji Tianqing chased for more than 2,000 kilometers into the great marsh before finally catching up to the sky eagle. It was already night, and the curtain of night covered the world. The sky was covered with gray clouds, and the ground was covered with a boundless forest. When Ji Tianqing was still 2.5 kilometers away from the Sky Eagle, he brazenly attacked. Sky Burning Palm. He raised his magma-red left arm and slapped out a giant flaming palm as large as a mountain. The giant flaming palm cut through the night sky, illuminating half of the sky, and hit the Sky Eagle with unbelievable speed. Boom! Amidst the deafening loud noise, the Sky Eagle was hit by the giant flaming palm. It fell from the sky with a miserable cry, smashing into the forest below. Its entire body ignited with crimson fire, actually igniting the vast forest and burning the gray ground into magma. But white light surged out of its body, erupting with divine soul power, dispersing the fire in a blink of an eye and suppressing the wound. Then, it flapped its wings and flew into the sky, stopping and confronting Ji Tianqing. Despicable little bastard, you actually chased this emperor here, truly reckless. The Sky Eagle glared at Ji Tianqing with bloodshot eyes, and actually spoke in human language, emitting a low and hoarse voice. Ji Tianqing was stunned for a moment, then said with a cold smile, "Hu, indeed worthy of being a soul refinement realm beast, to actually be able to speak in human language. No wonder Shao Han said that you're an old demon king that has lived for 1,000 years. Demon king?" A hint of contempt flashed across the Sky Eagle's eyes, and it said with a cold smile, "This emperor is the Sky Eagle Demon Emperor. I rule over 100,000 miles around Crimson Firmament Mountain, and I have hundreds of millions of demon beasts under my command." Ji Tianqing said expressionlessly, "I don't care if you're a demon king or a demon emperor. You actually dare to lead thousands of beasts to invade a human city instead of staying in the Great Swamp. I'll definitely kill you when I meet you. With just you? Dream on." The Sky Eagle said in a disdainful tone, "This emperor just doesn't want to stay in human territory and return to Crimson Firmament Mountain as soon as possible to refine the Sacred Heart. Do you think that this emperor ran away because I'm afraid of a little worm like you?" Ji Tianqing immediately frowned and asked doubtfully, "Sacred Heart? The 2 balls of sacred light that you obtained from the sacred tower just now?" The Sky Eagle knew that it had misspoken, so it hurriedly shut up and did not mention this matter. It shouted with a murderous aura, "Little worm, you talk too much. This emperor will tear you to pieces right now." As its voice fell, a white light surged out of its body, and it actually condensed into 6 white Sky Eagle phantoms. Those were 6 divine soul phantoms, just like its 6 divine soul clones. They floated in the night sky behind it, staring at Ji Tianqing with malicious gazes. Sky Shadow Ultimate Kill. The Sky Eagle let out a low cry, spread its wings, and released 9 giant white light blades, charging towards Ji Tianqing. The 6 divine soul phantoms also attacked from all directions, releasing dozens of giant divine soul blades. Chapter 1154. Although it was not known what the reason was, it made Sky Eagle endure all along in the southern desolate city. But now, it was already in the southern desolate swamp. Naturally, it did not need to endure and immediately revealed its true form. It used all of its strength to kill, causing a radius of several dozen miles to be shrouded in white light, bright as day. The vast and boundless divine soul power, the indestructible divine soul blade, completely drowned Ji Tianqing's figure. He was like a small boat, struggling bitterly in the sea of white light, likely to be drowned at any time. Sky Eagle's tyrannical strength was displayed without a doubt at this moment. Ji Tianqing was also fearless. 3 divine soul magic swords coiled around his body, condensing into a magic sword net. This was a consummate skill that he only mastered after reaching the 3rd level of the soul refinement realm. It was born out of the flowing light sword net that he used before. At that time, he used sword energy to condense a sword net, which could block weapon attacks and siege attacks. And now, he condensed a sword net with divine soul magic swords, which could block any attack. Bang! 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 The divine soul blades that blotted out the sky and covered the earth fiercely slammed into the magic sword net, erupting with an earth-shattering bang. The bombardment of Sky Eagle and the 6 divine soul phantoms sent him flying backward, smashing into the vast forest on the ground with a loud bang. Following a loud explosion, a huge crater with a radius of several dozen miles was smashed out on the ground, splashing mud and wood chips all over the sky. The surrounding earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Several mountain peaks collapsed along with it, turning into ruins. Ji Tianqing's magic sword net was actually blasted apart. The 3 divine soul magic swords were all sent flying, slashing into the ground. He climbed out of the crater with a pale face and flew back into the sky once more. Sky Eagle occupied high in the sky, staring at him with a malicious gaze. The 6 divine soul phantoms also spread out, heavily surrounding him. Ji Tianqing panted for a moment, silently circulating his energy to regulate his breathing, suppressing the injuries of his internal organs. He stared at Sky Eagle with an icy gaze and said in a low voice, "Sky Eagle, if you only have this bit of ability, then your time of death has arrived." He. Sky Eagle laughed heartily and cried out in a cruel tone, "Arrogant and ignorant worm, I can easily kill you. I will definitely tear you to pieces." As his voice fell, 6 mountain-like soul phantoms rushed towards Ji Tianqing from all directions, besieging him once again. Swish! Swish! The 6 sky eagles waved their huge sharp claws, shooting out white light arrows and sharp blades that covered the sky, drowning Ji Tianqing's figure. The sky eagle flapped its wings and thousands of black feathers flew out of its body. It was infused with terrifying spiritual energy and charged towards Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing's expression was solemn. He spread out the golden wings on his back to protect himself. Wings of the golden rock. In the next moment, the 6 soul phantoms, the thousands of soul blades, and the black feathers all hit him. Bang 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 bang. Along with an earth-shattering explosion, Ji Tianqing's golden wings trembled from the impact. The power of the wings was quickly exhausted, and the light became extremely dim. In the blink of an eye, the golden wings retracted back into his body. And he was also hit by the black light formed by hundreds of black feathers. His body trembled and flew out. When he fell from the sky and smashed into the huge pit on the ground, his body was already stained with blood, looking rather wretched. Tianning laughed maniacally. Once again, he controlled the 6 spiritual phantoms to descend from the sky and attack Ji Tianqing. "Little reptile, you dare to fight against this emperor with just you? Prepare to die." The 6 soul phantoms stretched out their sharp claws and with a destructive impact, drowned Ji Tianqing's figure. And Ji Tianqing stood in the deep pit, expressionless, staring coldly at the sky eagle and the night sky. He ignored the 6 soul phantoms and used all his strength to brazenly wave the broken sword, thrusting out the most dazzling sword. Thrusting sword style. Swish! The broken sword stabbed out, and a cold light appeared and rapidly disappeared. A dot of cold light illuminated the sky, piercing through the dark night, passing through 10 miles of space and instantly striking the sky eagle's body. Then, that dot of cold light that condensed to the limits suddenly bloomed, exploding with a destructive power. Boom! Following a deafening explosion, the sky eagle's enormous body instantly exploded into pieces of flesh that filled the sky, scattering in all directions mixed with black blood. Among the feathers and pieces of flesh that blotted out the sky, there were also several blazing white fragments that fell from the night sky. That was precisely the sky eagle's soul crystal, commonly known as the soul crystal. Ji Tianqing's all-out sword not only destroyed the sky eagle's physical body, it also directly destroyed its soul crystal. The sky eagle died on the spot. Its 6 soul phantoms also suddenly dissipated the instant before they were about to hit Ji Tianqing. When the pieces of flesh fell to the ground, a series of plop plop sounds rang out, piling up into a small black mountain. The world gradually returned to calm, and the violent spirit qi and soul power also gradually dissipated. Ji Tianqing stepped on the night sky, walking out of the deep pit step by step, flying to the mountain of body fragments. He searched through the pieces of the corpse for a while. Then, he found 5 soul crystal fragments and held them in his right palm. A mysterious black hole appeared in his right palm, connecting to the broken sword. Burial of Heaven, this sky eagle is an expert at the 6th level of the soul refinement realm. Its soul crystal fragments should be of great benefit to you, right? As his voice fell, a few soul crystal fragments passed through the black hole and entered the broken sword, quickly being devoured by the Burial of Heaven. Then, he rummaged through the body fragments for a while before finding the 2 balls of light that the sky eagle had devoured. A ball of crimson fire and a ball of bright golden light, both containing mysterious and majestic power. Ji Tianqing held a ball of holy light in each hand, only to feel as if he was holding 2 mountains, incomparably heavy. These 2 balls of holy light were like 2 suns, violent and scorching, as if they could explode at any time, destroying the world. I really didn't expect such a treasure to be hidden in the small southern wasteland city. He was a little emotional in his heart, lowering his head to observe the 2 balls of holy light. He saw that a fist-sized red heart was wrapped in the crimson fire, and it seemed to still be beating. In the bright golden light, a golden heart was also wrapped. Its appearance was the same as the crimson heart, but its size was a little smaller. After Ji Tianqing used his soul power to investigate, he found that these were 2 mysterious gems, not real hearts. Of course, he guessed that these might be gems transformed from hearts. He just couldn't understand why the sky eagle called these 2 gems saint hearts. After pondering for a moment, he put the 2 saint hearts into the space ring, leaped into the night sky, and returned to Southern Wasteland City. Not long after, when he returned to Southern Wasteland City, he saw that the city was bustling with noise and excitement. Fires were lit everywhere in the city, and countless city guards and martial artists were busy helping the injured or maintaining order. Chapter 1155. Ji Tianqing flew over the southern wasteland city and observed the situation in the city. The beast tide had already ended. Tens of thousands of demon beasts had just escaped from the southern wasteland city. Broken walls were everywhere in the city. The ground was cracked, the houses collapsed, and the streets were twisted and broken. Corpses of demon beasts could be seen everywhere on the ground. The mud and bricks were all stained with blood. Of course, many corpses of civilians were also found by the warriors of the Earth Spirit clan from the ruins and were placed on the ground in an orderly manner. All in all, the southern wasteland city under the night sky was still filled with panic and grief after the disaster. But the civilians had already experienced many similar situations, so their reactions were still calm and not panicked. The southern wasteland city master, several commanders, and the leaders of wealthy families were all trying their best to endure their injuries and command the city guards and civilians to carry out the rescue. Shao Han and the Golden Mountain King, with the help of the warriors of the Earth Spirit clan, performed secret arts to repair the ground, clean up the ruins, and rebuild the houses. This was the talent and strength of the Earth Spirit clan. The speed of rebuilding houses was very fast. After just 2 hours, most of the ground and streets in the city had been restored to their original state. Next, the warriors of the Earth Spirit clan had to help the civilians rebuild their houses, which would take a whole night. The aftermath of the disaster in the city was carried out in an orderly manner. The civilians also calmed down and waited for the reconstruction to be completed. Ji Tianqing and Shao Han followed the southern wasteland city master and the others into the city master's mansion. The southern wasteland city master, several commanders, and family leaders were all very respectful to Ji Tianqing and Shao Han. When the 2 of them sat down in the main hall, everyone walked in front of them and respectfully bowed, expressing their gratitude. Thank you for saving the southern wasteland city. On behalf of the millions of civilians in the southern wasteland city, we express our heartfelt gratitude to the 2 seniors for their help. The southern wasteland city will never forget the 2 seniors' great kindness. Shao Han and Ji Tianqing slightly nodded and raised their hands to signal the others to be excused. Everyone chatted for a while before they started to talk about the important matters. After asking, the southern wasteland city master and the others knew that Shao Han and Ji Tianqing were Dong Lin Divine General and Tian Chen Territory Lord. With their status, it was very difficult for them to come into contact with such lofty figures. Naturally, they were filled with excitement and trepidation, afraid that they would neglect the 2 of them. They didn't even dare to sit down. They all stood respectfully in the hall and spoke carefully. Fortunately, Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han were more easygoing and did not put on the airs of a big shot. The two of them inquired about the casualty situation in the southern wasteland city and learned that the situation wasn't that bad. It was much lighter than the previous beast tide outbreaks. Speaking of the beast tide, Ji Tianqing conveniently asked the southern wasteland city lord if he knew the reason for the beast tide outbreak. The southern wasteland city master hesitated for a moment, then said with a solemn expression, "Lord Ji, to be honest, I'm not very clear about the cause of the beast tide outbreak. However, I have heard that since the ancient times thousands of years ago, beast tides have occurred from time to time. At that time, the southern wasteland city was not as big as it was today, nor was it as prosperous as it was now. According to the historical records of the southern wasteland city, in the ancient times, every beast tide outbreak would bring a huge disaster to the southern wasteland city. The casualties and losses were very heavy. However, no matter what, the people of the southern wasteland city would not leave. They would rebuild their homes and continue to reproduce. The reason is rumored to be related to the sacred tower in the city." Hearing the southern wasteland city lord mention the sacred tower, Ji Tianqing took the opportunity to ask, "Then do you know the origin and secret of the sacred tower? Why would it cause a beast tide outbreak?" The southern wasteland city lord smiled embarrassedly and said with a stuttering voice, "Lord Ji, I don't know the real reason. I've only heard some legends about the sacred tower. However, those are all illusory myths. I don't dare to tell you, lest you misunderstand." 2 years ago, Ji Tianqing was indeed skeptical about the myths and legends of the Tianxian continent. However, after the incident with the goddess of Yaoguang, he already believed most of them. He even took the initiative to inquire about those myths and legends to understand the ancient past. He waved his hand and said, "Don't be nervous. I'm very interested in these ancient myths and legends. You can tell me directly, I won't blame you." Finally, the southern wasteland city lord felt relieved. He immediately said, "Since Lord Ji has agreed, then I won't hide it anymore. According to the legends, in the ancient times, an earth-shattering war of the gods occurred that involved the entire Tianxian continent. It was known as the War of the Gods. Before the War of the Gods, the southern wasteland swamp was a vast expanse of mountains and plains. It was a place with abundant resources, a place that was like spring all year round, and a picturesque scenery. It was a peaceful paradise. Many races lived there and established many kingdoms. They coexisted in harmony with each other. There was even a kingdom of demonic beasts that was ruled by the legendary phoenix divine bird. According to the legends, for the phoenix divine bird, the male is the fire phoenix, and the female is the dragon phoenix. The king of the demonic beast kingdom was the fire phoenix, and the dragon phoenix was the queen. They loved each other deeply and loved peace. They lived on a sacred tree of the parasol tree, protecting millions of miles of territory and the people of each race. Although the story told by the southern wasteland city lord sounded absurd and illusory, but Ji Tianqing listened attentively and even nodded slightly to encourage him to continue. After the southern wasteland city lord got the approval, he gathered his courage and continued, but the good times didn't last long. After the War of the Gods broke out, it spread to the southern wasteland swamp. All the tribes and kingdoms were affected by the flames of war. The people had no way to make a living. Many tribal kings and kings begged the phoenix divine bird to stop the War of the Gods and protect the peace of the land. It was said that the dragon phoenix was pregnant at that time and was peacefully giving birth to the baby phoenix. The phoenix divine bird considered for a long time. In order to protect the people of each race and its own kingdom, it finally decided to go to war and stop the invasion of the evil gods. The War of the Gods lasted for several months. The aftermath of the War of the Gods was like a world-ending calamity that descended upon the southern wasteland swamp. Millions of miles of mountains and plains were turned into sinkholes, abysses, and swamps. Countless tribes and kingdoms, and millions of creatures perished in the flames of war. The dragon phoenix was worried about her husband's safety. Without waiting for the birth of the baby phoenix, she rushed to the ninth heaven while pregnant to find the phoenix divine bird. When she found her husband, the phoenix divine bird was besieged by many evil gods. He was seriously injured and on the verge of death. So, the dragon phoenix and the phoenix divine bird fought side by side with the evil gods. No one knew how long they had been fighting and what they had experienced. In the end, several evil gods were killed by the phoenix couple. They also died in battle in the ninth heaven. Their souls scattered and their divine bodies turned into ashes. Chapter 1156. That parasol sacred tree is said to be the seed of an ancient sacred tree. Even after 10,000 years, it will not wither. However, the aftermath of the Battle of the Gods destroyed the entire southern wasteland swamp and burned down the parasol sacred tree. There was also a saying that after the phoenix couple died, the parasol sacred tree could not survive on its own. It withered and died, turning into black ashes. All in all, this sad legend was passed down from then on. In order to thank and commemorate the phoenix couple, the later generations have been extolling their legend. Many years after the Battle of the Gods, the continent returned to peace, and the various races rested. By chance, when a middle-aged couple was exploring the ruins of the southern wasteland swamp, they coincidentally found 2 gems. Those were 2 heart-shaped gems. Legend has it that they were transformed from the phoenix couple's sacred heart. The couple experienced life and death dangers in the southern wasteland swamp and finally escaped from it. They stopped here and lived in seclusion. At that time, this was just a small village. After the middle-aged couple learned about the legend of the phoenix, they built a pagoda here and worshipped the 2 sacred hearts. Since then, more and more people gathered here, taking root here and multiplying. After hundreds of years, the middle-aged couple was long gone. However, the pagoda and sacred heart remained forever. The once small village had developed into the bustling southern wasteland city. It became a place that adventurers had to pass through to enter the southern wasteland swamp. Adventurers from all over the world, after learning about the legend of the phoenix, would go to the sacred tower to worship and pray for the phoenix to bless them so that they could enter and exit the southern wasteland swamp smoothly. When the southern wasteland city lord spoke until here, he paused for a moment, and his face revealed a touch of anger. Originally, this was a good thing. People of all races thanked and worshipped the phoenix, commemorating it forever. However, there were always some despicable people with evil intentions, vainly trying to seize the legendary phoenix sacred heart. Therefore, 3,000 years ago, there were several fights in the sacred tower, which led to the sacred tower almost being destroyed. After those few incidents, the southern wasteland city lord at that time ordered the sacred tower's entrance to be closed forever. Everyone could only watch and worship outside the tower, and could not enter the tower to worship. Later on, at an unknown time, the demonic beasts in the southern wasteland Great Lake would rush out of the Great Lake every few years and madly attack the southern wasteland city. The demonic beasts couldn't speak human language, so no one knew why they went crazy and why they attacked the southern wasteland city. However, the previous city lords all speculated that the reason why the demonic beasts attacked the southern wasteland city was probably related to the divine bird Phoenix's sacred heart. Perhaps those demonic beasts wanted to seize the saint's heart to increase their own strength. Or perhaps, they saw the phoenix as their ancestor and wanted to take back their ancestors' inheritance. Furthermore, in the previous beast hordes, the strongest beast leader was only at Sky Origin stage. I don't know why, but a demon emperor at the soul refinement stage actually appeared in this beast tide. The southern wasteland city lord had finally finished his story, and his tone was somewhat complicated and emotional. After listening, Ji Tianqing finally understood the whole story. Although he knew that the southern wasteland city lord's story was not complete, there were still some loopholes and parts that could not withstand scrutiny. But after all, this was a myth and legend passed down after the Great War of the Gods. No one had personally experienced it, and it was all passed down by word of mouth. How could there be no omissions and flaws? After a moment of silence, he nodded and said to the southern wasteland city lord, "This myth is indeed emotional. The divine bird phoenix is indeed worthy of being a sacred beast. It has the sacred heart to help the world and to love all races. The story you just told may not be complete and true, but it still has a high degree of credibility. Moreover, it has been thousands of years, no one can find out the truth, so there's no need to pursue anything further. Xiao Han's belief in this myth was obviously not as high as Ji Tianqing's. He nodded slightly and said with a solemn expression, "These myths, everyone should just listen to them. There's no need to delve deeper." The southern wasteland city lord could only cup his hands in obeisance and no longer say anything. Ji Tianqing frowned and thought for a while before he made up his mind and said to the southern wasteland city lord, "Previously, when the heavenly eagle destroyed the holy tower, I didn't see any sacred heart. I chased it into the great swamp, and after killing it, I didn't find anything either. If you really think there's a sacred heart in the holy tower, there's no harm in sending people to look for it in the ruins." Hearing him say this, Xiao Han and the southern wasteland city lord all revealed shocked expressions and exclaimed in disbelief. "What? Young Master Ji, you actually killed that heavenly eagle? That was an expert at the 6th level of the spirit refining realm. Lord Ji can actually kill the heavenly eagle? You really are the #1 genius of our race, a peerless genius. Lord Ji has such extraordinary strength at such a young age. In the future, you will definitely be a peerless hero, or even a supreme being." Everyone was shocked from the bottom of their hearts and praised Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing waved his hand and said a few modest words. He looked at the southern wasteland city lord with a solemn expression and said in a solemn tone, "Facts have proven that the holy tower has experienced thousands of years and is no longer the holy tower of the past. Legend has it that the sacred heart of the phoenix that was worshipped in the holy tower may have disappeared many years ago, or it may have never existed. After this, I feel that you don't need to rebuild the holy tower anymore." That ancient mythical story was rarely mentioned, and almost no one went to worship it anymore. On the contrary, the demon beasts of the southern wasteland Great Lake have always been thinking about the legendary sacred heart of the phoenix and constantly attacking the southern wasteland city. This is not a good thing. Hearing him say this, the southern wasteland city lord nodded in agreement. "That's right, Lord Ji is right. This subordinate will not rebuild the holy tower. That legend is only a legend and will eventually disappear with the passage of time. But the people of our southern wasteland city have always been living in the shadow of the demon beast tide, which is a real harm. The holy tower has been destroyed, and that legend will also be forgotten. This subordinate believes that the demon beasts of the southern wasteland Great Lake will not attack the southern wasteland city in the future." This matter was settled. The southern wasteland city lord sent people to prepare a banquet to warmly entertain Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han to express the gratitude of the people of the city. But Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han refused. The two of them did not care about this kind of false reputation. Moreover, the city was in a mess. The people had not settled down and the work to clean up the aftermath had not been completed. The two of them only asked for 2 secret rooms and each went to meditate and rest. After a night of meditation, the two of them recovered their magic power and became full of energy again. The next morning, the Golden Mountain King and hundreds of warriors of the Earth Spirit race under his command also completed the reconstruction of the southern wasteland city and returned to the Sword World to rest. The southern wasteland city that was still devastated last night was restored to its original state in the morning, as if nothing had happened. Chapter 1157. Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han were rushing through the southern wasteland swamp at lightning speed. The beast tide in the southern wasteland city was just a small interlude, so Xiao Han didn't take it to heart. While he was on his way, he was thinking about the Shao clan's Holy Fire Festival. Ji Tianqing was also communicating with the little black dragon and Qianyu. Qianyu was puzzled and asked, "Old Ji, you told the southern wasteland city lord that you didn't see the phoenix sacred heart last night. Why did you lie? This isn't your style." The little black dragon also muttered, "Yeah, old Ji didn't even blink when he lied. I really can't believe it." Ji Tianqing's tone was somewhat emotional. He said faintly, "If I say that I did this for the good of the southern wasteland city, you might think I'm a hypocrite, but this is indeed half the reason. Without the phoenix sacred heart and the sacred tower, the beast tide wouldn't have broken out in the southern wasteland swamp, and the southern wasteland city wouldn't have to suffer a disaster every 1 or 2 years. Most importantly, the legend of the phoenixes is related to the Great War of the Gods. I know the cause and origin of that war is related to the ancestor demon god. The people of the southern wasteland city can only enshrine the phoenix sacred heart in the sacred tower and spread the legend of the phoenixes, silently paying tribute to them. However, this was useless and meaningless. What happened back then is about to happen again. The ancestor demon god is likely to revive and the demon army will sweep the world again. So, I'd rather lie and take the phoenix sacred heart away and give it to the two of you. I hope that you can refine the phoenix sacred heart and quickly increase your strength. In the future, you can help me resist the demon army, protect the people of the human race, and deal with the demon emperor and the ancestor demon god. You can consider it as inheriting the will of the phoenixes and completing their unfinished mission and wish. The little black dragon and Xianyu were silent for a moment, then muttered to themselves, inheriting the will? This is indeed much better than paying tribute to them. Old G, I agree with your way of doing things. Instead of letting the phoenix sacred heart lie in the sacred tower, why not let us inherit it and avenge the phoenixes? Ji Tianqing said solemnly, it's good that you understand my intentions. Refine the 2 sacred phoenix hearts as soon as possible and strive to reach the spirit refinement realm as soon as possible. Remember, don't get it wrong. Little black dragon will refine the fire phoenix's heart, and Qianyu will refine the dragon phoenix's heart. Hearing his words, Qianyu hesitated for a moment, then said with a strange tone, Old Ji, the legendary phoenix couple, they are incomparably loving, and will not change even in death. Say, after dumb dragon and I refine the phoenix sacred heart, will we become, like the phoenix couple, falling in love with each other? This. Ji Tianqing was stunned. He asked in a strange tone, Qianyu, how do you want me to answer this question? You and the little black dragon have known each other for so many years and we are best friends. The two of you should love each other and take care of each other. No. I won't. Qianyu immediately rejected the idea. She muttered unhappily, I'm a heavenly fox. Dumb dragon is a black dragon. We're of different races. How can we love each other? Besides, I've always treated the little black dragon as a brother, so how could I fall in love with it? It's dark and dull, too boring. It's not my type at all. Ji Tianqing's face darkened as he said snappily, what brother? You're a girl and the little black dragon is a boy. As long as you're of different genders, it's fine. Why do you care so much? Besides, the little black dragon is so honest and considerate. If he can endure your unruly behavior, you should be content. The little black dragon, who had been silent this entire time, hurriedly nodded. Old G, Qianyu, don't worry. When I become stronger, I will protect all of you with my life. Qianyu stuck her tongue out at it. Ha ha ha. Who needs your protection? I don't care, humph. After saying that, it held the dragon phoenix sacred heart, found a mountain peak in the sword world with abundant spiritual energy, and went into seclusion to refine. The little black dragon was also in the secret chamber of the peaceful Earth City, focusing on refining the sacred fire phoenix heart. Ji Tianqing smiled silently. He didn't say anything more and continued on his way. Unknowingly, 5 days passed. Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han flew for 5 days and 5 nights in the southern wasteland Great Marsh. They crossed the outer mountain ranges and forests, and finally entered the central region of the Great Marsh. The terrain in front of them became lower and lower. Mountain ranges rarely appeared. The ground was filled with dark brown swamps and dark green forests. This was the central region of the southern wasteland Great Marsh, and also the most dangerous region. The cave dwellings and ruins of legendary experts were mostly hidden in this region with a radius of several 100,000 miles. Of course, the Shao clan was also in this region. At this time, the two of them were flying in the air above a swamp with a radius of nearly 10,000 miles. The dark brown swamp was filled with black mud. Layers of rotten leaves, brown branches, and other debris were piled up on top of it. Many colorful wild flowers and grass grew on the surface of the muddy swamp, attracting many colorful insects. Some strange-looking, gifted venomous snakes and insects were also hiding in the swamp, silently moving through the swamp. In the air above the swamp, there was a faintly discernible gray fog that contained terrifying poisonous gas. Fortunately, Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han were both in the soul-refining realm. With the protection of their divine soul, they could resist the corrosion of the miasma and poisonous fog. Moreover, the two of them were flying high in the sky and didn't land in the swamp. There wouldn't be any trouble or danger. While flying forward, Xiao Han said to Ji Tianqing, "Young Master Ji, this is the central region of the Great Marsh. We will reach the Xiao clan after flying for another day. This area with a radius of 200,000 miles is the legendary soul-devouring swamp. It is one of the most dangerous regions in the Great Marsh. To the adventurers of the outside world, this is a death zone. To the disciples of the Xiao clan, if they want to leave the Xiao clan and enter the flourishing central state, this swamp is also the most dangerous barrier and test. When I left the Xiao clan that year, when I was a fledgling, I almost lost my life in this soul-devouring swamp." When Xiao Han talked about the past, his face was full of sorrow and sorrow. Ji Tianqing listened quietly and occasionally responded. The two of them chatted as they walked, so they didn't feel lonely. At this time, in the sky 100 miles ahead, there was a loud rumbling sound. A dazzling light of true origin lit up the dusky sky. Ji Tianqing and Xiao Han looked in the direction of the sound and saw a dark green forest in the dark brown swamp. It was a small mound that protruded out of the swamp. It was only 10 miles in radius. There were all kinds of shrubs and small trees growing on it. Chapter 1158. When Ji Tianqing heard the loud noises in the sky, he thought that demonic beasts were fighting. After all, he had seen this kind of thing every day during his journey in the great swamp of the southern wasteland. When he looked at the sky above the mound, he found that there were two demonic beasts as huge as palaces attacking a 1,000-meter-long flood dragon. The two giant beasts were 100 meters long and looked like cheetahs, but their bodies were grayish-white and covered in layers of cloud patterns. They had 4 broad wings and long fluffy tails, like those of a grayish-white squirrel. They waved their gigantic front claws and unleashed an overwhelming amount of 5-colored spiritual light, attacking the dark gray flood dragon from both sides. The flood dragon kept roaring angrily and spewing out black water pillars, as well as ice blades and frost swords, to fight against the two giant beasts. The attacks of the two sides, the light blades and the shock waves, kept colliding with each other, creating loud rumbling noises. The colorful light covered the sky for dozens of kilometers and created violent shock waves. The entire mound shook violently, and huge pits appeared on the ground, splashing mud and wood chips all over the sky. The swamp around the mound was also dented by the shock waves, and mud splashed everywhere. The area within a radius of 30 kilometers was chaotic and dirty, making it impossible for people to get close. Ji Tianqing stared at the two giant demonic beasts, carefully sizing them up. Xiao Han raised his eyebrows and said to him through sound transmission, "Those are cloud-spotted beasts, high-ranked demonic beasts with powerful bloodlines. Adult cloud-spotted beasts have the strength of the soul-refining realm." Looking at the size and appearance of the two cloud-spotted beasts, they are obviously adults, and their strength is comparable to the second or third level of the soul-refining realm. But the flood dragon fighting with the cloud-spotted beasts seems a little strange. Hearing him say so, Ji Tianqing glanced at the two cloud-spotted beasts, and then his eyes fell on the dark gray flood dragon. The flood dragon was 1,000 meters long, covered in dark gray scales, with a pair of dark green eyes, and 4 thick and huge claws, which contained the strength to break mountains. Without a doubt, this was an azure dragon. Ji Tianqing sized it up and immediately frowned, revealing a puzzled expression. Azure dragon? This azure dragon's appearance and aura are somewhat familiar. Where have I seen it before? He frowned and pondered for a while. Suddenly, He recalled that he had seen an azure dragon in the evil dragon pool in the southern desolation's great swamp a year ago. Yes, that's it. But why did it leave the evil dragon pool and appear here? Ji Tianqing instantly confirmed that this azure dragon was the one in the evil dragon pond. Could it be that fool's wish has been fulfilled? This thought flashed through his mind, and his eyes shone brightly as he looked around. As expected, he soon saw two tiny figures on the battlefield in the sky. They were two tall and sturdy human martial artists dressed in golden armor. They were currently on the left and right of the azure dragon, attacking the two cloud-spotted beasts with all their might. Both of them had long golden hair, wore armor and capes, and held broadswords in their hands. Both of them had not reached the soul-tempering realm and were only in the sky origin realm. They were no match for the cloud-spotted beasts at all. Even if they used all their secret skills to attack the two cloud-spotted beasts with all their might, it was useless. They could not hurt the beasts at all. On the contrary, the shockwaves from the battle between the cloud-spotted beasts and the azure dragon made the two of them retreat. They were covered in blood and were severely injured. The battle was not going well. The outcome of the battle was about to be decided. The cloud-spotted beast's cultivation level was about the same as the azure dragon's, and they had the advantage in numbers. Of course, they could defeat the azure dragon. Not only did the azure dragon have to fend off the two cloud-spotted beasts, but it also had to protect the two men in golden armor. The situation was getting more and more dangerous. The two men in golden armor were covered in blood. They were at the end of their rope and were badly injured. However, they did not want to retreat. They stubbornly held on and helped the azure dragon fend off the attacks from the cloud-spotted beasts. The attacks from the cloud-spotted beasts were getting fiercer and fiercer. They all opened their bloody mouths and roared into the sky, causing the wind and clouds within 100 miles to gather into a hurricane. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2,000-meter-tall tornadoes wrapped in pale white divine soul blades swept toward the two men in golden armor with unparalleled power. The two men immediately looked desperate. They desperately stimulated their potential. Dazzling golden light shone from their bodies as they turned around and fled into the distance. Unfortunately, the tornadoes were too powerful. They released a terrifying devouring power that covered an area of 30 miles. The two men in golden armor seemed to have fallen into a swamp. They ran slower and slower. In the end, they were swallowed back into the tornadoes. The two men in golden armor were about to be swallowed by the tornadoes. What awaited them was definitely being shredded to pieces by the tornadoes and dying on the spot. The azure dragon roared anxiously and immediately flew over to rescue the two men in golden armor. However, the two cloud-spotted beasts blocked it and attacked it from both sides, sending it flying back. At this critical moment, Ji Tianqing arrived above the mound and flew into the battlefield with a whoosh. When he got closer, he saw that the two men in golden armor were outsiders. They were the Golden Lion clan members he had seen before. One of them was a middle-aged man, the other a young man. The tall and burly young man was covered in wounds. His face was covered in blood, and his hair was disheveled. He was in a sorry state. Even so, he immediately recognized him. He was the prince of the Golden Lion clan, Shi Zhongjian. It really is that silly boy. This thought flashed through Ji Tianqing's mind. His eyes revealed a trace of relief. He did not hesitate to cast a spell and drew the cold, pitch-black broken sword. Draw your sword. Whoosh! The divine sword was unsheathed. Cold light flashed. 200-meter-long white sword lights formed by divine souls instantly cut through the turbid sky and slashed at the two tornadoes. At this moment, Shi Zhongjian and the middle-aged man were sucked into the tornadoes. They could not resist the tornadoes at all. The two closed their eyes in despair, waiting for their bodies to be crushed and their bones to be crushed. They waited for death to descend. However, with two earth-shattering booms, the two tornadoes collapsed and dissipated in the blink of an eye. The devouring power that enveloped heaven and earth dissipated. Shi Zhongjian and the middle-aged man fell from the sky and smashed into the swamp below. The two of them were stunned. When they came to their senses, they opened their eyes in disbelief. In the next moment, the two of them saw a scene that they would never forget. Ji Tianqing stepped into the sky, holding the broken sword majestically. He casually thrust it forward in a carefree manner. Whoosh! A cold light suddenly appeared and illuminated the sky. A cold light that had been condensed to the limit shot out from the broken sword. It instantly pierced through the sky and hit a cloud-spotted beast. Chapter 1159. The cloud-spotted beast, which had been aggressive and murderous just a moment ago, was actually unable to withstand the might of Ji Tianqing's sword. Just how strong was its defense and strength with its 100-meter-long body? However, in the face of Ji Tianqing's broken sword, it was as fragile as a piece of paper. Even its soul crystal was shattered by the power of this sword. It was shattered into pieces and scattered into the sky along with its flesh and blood. Shi Zhongjian and the middle-aged man were stunned. Sang Long and the other cloud-spotted beast were also dumbfounded. Everyone momentarily forgot about attacking and killing as they stared at Ji Tianqing, their eyes filled with shock and awe. Only Xiao Han was able to maintain his composure. He was not too surprised by this. After all, he had already witnessed Ji Tianqing's terrifying power. No matter what kind of miracle Ji Tianqing could create, he would feel that it was only natural. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ji Tianqing waved his hand and unleashed a gigantic golden palm that blotted out the sky, dragging Shi Zhongjian and the middle-aged man back. The cloud-spotted beast finally came to its senses. It immediately abandoned Sang Long and pounced toward Ji Tianqing with a roar. Roar! It was enraged. It raised its head and roared into the sky. White light surged from its body as it unleashed 3,000-meter-long pillars of divine sense light toward Ji Tianqing. Vast divine power condensed into a scorching white pillar of light. It contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. It was enough to destroy everything within a 25-kilometer radius. The surrounding sky was illuminated. Violent gale-force winds spread, creating a huge vortex in the quagmire around the mound. This was the cloud-spotted beast's most powerful attack. In order to kill Ji Tianqing and avenge its companions, it had unleashed all of its power. Ji Tianqing did not back down. He also unleashed all of his power. He focused all of his essence, energy, and spirit to unleash the most powerful sword strike of his life. Heaven-splitting sword. This was the most powerful sword strike of the combination of essence, energy, and spirit, man and sword, and heavenly sword. The scorching white sword projection that was 1,000 meters long slashed through the sky with the power to destroy everything and struck one of the pillars of divine sense light. Boom! The pillar of spiritual energy collapsed on the spot, shattering into countless fragments that scattered in all directions. The power of the sword light did not decrease in the slightest, and it struck the cloud-spotted beast right in the middle of its head. Boom! With a muffled sound, the cloud-spotted beast's head was sliced open by the sword light. A huge gully appeared from its head to its back and then to its tail. Its 100-meter-long body was split into two halves from the middle by a single slash. Dark red blood gushed out like a torrential flood, sprinkling down from the sky into the swamp. The two halves of the cloud-mottled beast's corpse fell from the sky and smashed into the desolated mound. After the corpse fell to the ground, it twitched a few times before it finally calmed down and stopped moving. This cloud-spotted beast followed in its companion's footsteps and was instantly killed by Ji Tianqing's sword. Not only did its physical body die, even its soul crystal was split into several pieces and shattered on the spot. The battle ended with the death of the two cloud-spotted beasts. Sang Long, Shi Zhongjian, and the middle-aged blonde man all stared at this scene with their mouths agape. They did not recover from their shock for a long time. At the same time, a black airship was hiding in the swamp 20 miles away from the mound. This airship was not big, only half a meter long. It was completely black and had an exquisite and beautiful appearance. However, it was a soul-level Dharma treasure. There was a whole new world inside it, and it had a spacious Dharma treasure space. The black airship hid in the mud of the swamp. It did not light up, nor did it emit any spiritual chi waves. It was very difficult to discover it. Inside the flying boat, there was a young man and woman who were watching the situation outside attentively. The young man and woman were both in their early 20s. Their clothes were very exquisite, and their attire was very elegant and noble. The young man was tall and handsome. He wore a long blue robe embroidered with the pattern of a divine bird. The woman was also tall and beautiful. She wore a long yellow dress and had long hair that reached her shoulders. She wore a jade white pearl necklace around her neck. Her facial features were very delicate. Her clear eyes were like autumn water, and her long eyelashes were like two small fans. At this moment, her small cherry mouth opened silently. Her beautiful face was filled with shock, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. After being stunned for a while, she took a deep breath and praised sincerely, "Oh my God, where did that young man come from? He only used 2 swords and killed 2 cloud-spotted beasts. He looks about the same age as me. Why is his strength so terrifying? He has reached the soul-tempering realm. In the history of our Shao clan, there has never been such a valiant peerless genius, right?" The young man in the blue robe standing beside her also recovered from his shock. His face was still filled with amazement. He nodded in agreement and exclaimed in disbelief, "He is indeed too powerful. If we did not sneak out secretly, how could we see such a shocking genius? Sister Ling, that guy looks younger than me, but he has the strength of the soul-tempering realm. This is simply a miracle. Even if we can't get the tailbone and eyeball of the cloud-spotted beasts, we can see the young genius outside. This trip was not in vain." The delicate girl called Ling, frowned slightly. After thinking for a while, she suddenly revealed a sly smile. "Xiao Chen, it is too early for you to say that. I think we might have a chance." That young genius passed by and saw the cloud-spotted beasts attacking the 2 golden-haired men. That was why he came to their rescue. A proud genius like him would definitely disdain to collect the spoils of war, let alone the tailbone and eyeball of the cloud-spotted beasts, right? I dare to bet that the genius will not take another look at the cloud-spotted beasts' bodies. He will most likely leave gracefully and leave us with an admirable back view." As Ling spoke, her clear eyes shone brightly. Her eyes were filled with worship and admiration. The young man called Xiao Chen looked at Ling's joyful expression and felt a little sour in his heart. However, he still nodded in agreement and said, "Sister Ling is still the smart one. It will be the Holy Fire Festival in a few days. We have to get the tailbone and eyeball of the cloud-spotted beasts and refine that magic treasure as soon as possible. Only then will we have full confidence to pass the test and obtain the top 2 spots to obtain the opportunity to leave the Shao clan." Ling pouted and said with a resentful tone, "I am already sick of staying in the Shao clan. I am almost bored to death from being trapped in that small world. Anyway, no matter what, I will obtain the top 2 spots in the test and strive to leave the Shao clan." Chapter 1160. While they were secretly discussing, Ji Tianqing and the others were also talking in the air above the mound in the distance. Shi Zhongjian brought the middle-aged man and flew to Ji Tianqing. He opened his arms excitedly and gave Ji Tianqing a bear hug. He was so excited that he spoke incoherently. "Brother Tianqing. Big brother. I finally see you again. Ma. That's great. This is such a pleasant surprise. I never thought that I would meet you here. You even saved me." Shi Zhongjian didn't care about his injuries. He didn't even wipe the blood off his face. Then, he pulled the middle-aged man beside him and said to Ji Tianqing, "Jin Gu, this is young Master Ji, the man I told you about before. He is a genius whose name shakes the whole continent." Jin Gu quickly wiped the blood off his face with his sleeve and bowed respectfully. He said to Ji Tianqing, "Greetings, young Master Ji. I am Jin Gu, the commander of the Golden Lion clan's Imperial Guards. I am responsible for protecting the prince. I am very grateful to young Master Ji for saving my life. After Jin Ge bowed, Shi Zhongjin excitedly waved at Sang Long and shouted, "Brother Long, come and see who this is." Sang Long was meditating. Hearing Ji Tianqing's call, he quickly flew over and looked at Ji Tianqing closely. Seeing Ji Tianqing's appearance, Sang Long raised his eyebrows and said in a complicated tone, "It's you?" Obviously, Sang Long had recognized Ji Tianqing. He was the young man who went through the evil dragon swamp a year ago. Ji Tianqing nodded to Sang Long and looked at Shi Zhongjin. He smiled and said, "Lion, it seems that your wish has been fulfilled." Shi Zhongjin patted his chest proudly and said with a hearty laugh, "Of course. I told you that year that I would make Brother Long acknowledge me. Since I left the southern wasteland and returned to the sect, I have been cultivating hard. Later, I went to the evil dragon pond with my master and several elders. It took me a lot of effort to persuade Brother Long to go back to the sect with me." Ji Tianqing listened to Yi Xiao's story. He looked at Yi Xiao up and down and said, "Not bad. You have changed a lot in the past year. You have improved a lot. You are now at the 6th level of the Sky Origin stage." Shi Zhongjin's bodyguard, Jin Ge, was also at the 7th level of Sky Origin stage. In the Tianxian land, these two could be considered as famous elite warriors. But in the depths of the southern desolation swamp, this little bit of strength was utterly insufficient, and he might even lose his life if he encountered two cloud streak beasts. Ji Tianqing looked at Shi Zhongjin and asked doubtfully, "You've already achieved your wish by getting the blue dragon to follow you. Why did you come to the depths of the lake and even offend the cloud-modeled beast?" Shi Zhongjin awkwardly scratched his head and explained, "Big brother Tianqing, you know that a year ago when I came to the southern wasteland Great Marsh, I had 3 objectives to explore. After the blue dragon followed me, I thought that with its protection, would be more confident. So I broke into this place to look for a cave dwelling of an ancient elite warrior. I didn't expect that this place was not a cave dwelling, but a nest of demonic beasts. There are 2 cloud streak beasts living here." Ji Tianqing couldn't help but laugh. He said earnestly, "You made a big mistake, and you almost lost your life. There are very few elite warriors in the world, and a cave dwelling or a ruin from the ancient era is even rarer. How could it be so easy to find it? Usually, the information and secrets that are easily obtained are mostly false. You can't be so reckless in the future." Shi Zhongjin lowered his head and humbly accepted his criticism. He nodded and said, "Big brother Tianqing, you are right. I won't be so impulsive in the future." Xiao Han stood aside. Seeing that Ji Tianqing and Shi Zhongjin were chatting happily, he walked over. "Looks like you guys seem to have known each other for a long time and coincidentally met here today?" Shi Zhongjin hurriedly nodded and said with a respectful attitude, "Junior Shi Zhongjin greets the senior." "I haven't asked senior, you are." Although he didn't know Xiao Han, he saw that Xiao Han was traveling with Ji Tianqing. His attitude towards Xiao Han was very respectful and courteous. Xiao Han saw this point and couldn't help becoming more and more curious about Ji Tianqing. After all, Shi Zhongjin was obviously not an ordinary person. To be able to have the blue dragon as a mount and companion, he definitely had a powerful background. Such a noble young genius was actually abnormally worshipping and getting close to Ji Tianqing. How could Xiao Han not be shocked and puzzled? He waved his hand at Shi Zhongjin and said with a light smile, "This seat is just a common person in the world. My name and whatnot don't need to care about it." Shi Zhongjin understood that he was unwilling to reveal his identity, so he didn't ask. After waiting for Shi Zhongjin and Ji Tianqing to catch up for a while, Xiao Han saw that it was about time and said, "Tianqing, we should go. This little brother and the others are injured and need to find a place to heal as soon as possible. We shouldn't waste their time." Ji Tianqing nodded and said, "Okay." Shi Zhongjin was very excited. Seeing that Ji Tianqing was about to leave, he said with some reluctance, "Young Master Ji, are you leaving now?" Ji Tianqing slightly nodded and said with a calm voice, "I have important matters to attend to, so I have to go first. Lion, if fate wills it, we will meet again." Shi Zhongjin suppressed his reluctance and nodded with a forced smile. Okay, then you go about your business. I also have to leave and find a place to heal. Big Brother Tianqing, if you have the chance, you must visit the Divine Hidden Sect as a guest. Of course. Ji Tianqing slightly nodded and waved his hand to bid him farewell. After that, Shi Zhongjian and Jin Ge flew onto the Azure Dragon's back and quickly left this area, flying into the distance. After the Azure Dragon's figure disappeared into the horizon, Ji Tianqing said to Xiao Han, "Please wait for me for a moment, I will go and pack up some things." As he spoke, he landed on the ruined mound and searched for the corpses of the cloud-spot beasts with sharp eyes. A moment later, he found the soul crystal fragments of 2 cloud-spot beasts in the ruins of the mound and in the nearby quagmire. He put away the soul crystal fragments and sent them into the broken sword for burial of heaven to devour and refine. Then he turned around and was about to leave. At this time, a black flying boat suddenly emerged from the quagmire not far away and flew over as fast as lightning. Whoosh! The black flying boat stopped next to Ji Tianqing, and a young man and woman with outstanding looks and extraordinary temperaments flew out from it. The young girl wore a light yellow dress. She had a delicate and cute face and a pair of big, expressive eyes. Her entire body exuded a strange aura. She was a little hesitant and nervous. Like a young girl who saw her idol, she flew excitedly and shyly towards Ji Tianqing. She looked like she wanted to say something but hesitated. "Young master, please wait." You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.